Hello! Welcome, Normal America Show host Rob Noor. That's me! Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. I am obligated to sit here and talk for like an hour until we read I'm Speaking Now. We know you're not here to hear me. You're here to hear from powerful black female voices, and we got those lined up for you this evening. That's right, another segment of I'm Speaking Now. All you got to do is make it through like an hour and 15 minutes of me prattling on, and then bam, made in the shade with powerful black women voices. My goodness. I hope you've all had a great day. I did. I had some friends come over and were helping me build a play set for my son. Now, I am the most handy man in the world. I suck. So if I buy something and you have to assemble it and the directions say like estimated time of assembly 2 hours, it's going to take me 5. That's a general rule of thumb. So like this desk that my computer's on, I think it took me like double the time that it estimated. So this play set, it said it estimated 8 to 10 hours. And we are on about hour 9. Now granted, there's 3 of us. It said 8 to 10 for 2 people. We're about on hour 9, and I've basically done nothing. I was more of the parts and keeping everything separate. And you have so many different boards and all that stuff for this thing that they're all labeled differently. So that was my job, trying to keep it all organized. We have at least 4 or 5 hours left to go. And so I looked it up online, and this particular playset, it's like, yeah, it says that it takes 8 hours, but real time is like 18 to 20 hours is what most people suggest. So thank goodness the guys with me are competent, because if it was me, this would be like a 80-hour job. Oh yeah, it's got the swings and the slides and like the little clubhouse, and yeah, it's cool. And it's like 60% put up, but it's still like you don't want your kid playing on it yet because you want to make sure everything's safe and everything. It's only 60% up, but he's very into it. He was pleased seeing it getting put up. But that was the majority of my day. I was gonna try to find time to come up and redo the debate review stream, but that started at about noon and it just wrapped up there probably around 9 o'clock. So we didn't get much time for midday streaming, unfortunately. But yeah, that was my day. I'm tired too. Luckily, I have a solution for that. My energy rush. Is anybody eating? You want to hear something gross? I have a gross story for you. Oh, wait a minute. And no, it's not about this giant pimple on my forehead. Let's go good, EOD. Good to hear from you, man. Whoop. Good day. I'm glad. It's nice and sunny here. It looks like we're supposed to get a little rain, which is a bummer. Appears as if my computer is supposed to be delivered tomorrow. So claims the UPS folks. So I have to. Avers is going to help me set some things up with it. I think I still have to install 1 or 2 things. My understanding is some things are you kind of don't want to ship when you're shipping a computer, like the graphics card or something, because if it jostles around in the car, it could cause problems. So we're gonna work on getting that. I don't know that I'll have. I'm gonna be busy tomorrow. I think I'll be doing the extravaganza. Then I have a phone call I got to take at 6:30, and so I probably won't get around to messing with the computer until Tuesday. But hopefully it comes tomorrow. That would be nice. I also have bad news for you, for fans of chair. I have purchased another chair, and this chair will be sent to the retirement home, our guest room across the hall here. That's it. Old chair's gonna retire. It's too squeaky. I'm sorry. I know chair's a fan favorite, but time to move on. What can you do? What the heck is this? Yes, poor chair. It's a dark day. That's true. People have donated. Maybe chair will start its own stream. You never know. So we'll have a retirement for the chair. I got to get around to building. And the new chair, just so you know, it was my gift for Father's Day. It was my son picked it out. My wife, obviously, she pointed him in directions of potential chairs, but it's the one that he picked out. So he's very excited to help me put it together. Now, the chair's not the gross story. So let's talk about the gross story. We're done pissing around. Let's do it. Did you guys know it's Pride Month? Yes, that's right. It's Pride Month. Everybody's very prideful of the gay sex that they're having this month, apparently. I don't know. And it used to be, I could accept the original idea of Pride Month, right? I might not have liked it, but I understand that there were people like, we feel we've been discriminated against, and damn it, we're tired of it. That's different than, and now celebrate us having anal sex. So, slightly different message there. Oh, Marcellery, we're getting there. You know, it's a little bit different now. So it's funny because half the companies are like trying to pull away from this shit because they see the writing on the wall, and then half them just double down again. And so that brings us to HelloFresh. Now, HelloFresh is one of these companies that will send like meals to you for you to cook. I've never used HelloFresh, but I have used, I think, Blue Apron for like 2 months. A friend had a discount for us. I didn't mind it. To be honest, it is kind of neat. So they'd send you like 3 meals a week and instructions on how to cook the meals. And it was like a meal for 2 people. It wasn't bad. It was cheaper than eating out. You know, I'm not a big fan of cooking. I don't despise it or anything. But I know there are people that like it and like to cook and try new things. So, yeah, you know, I could see how the whole thing could make sense. HelloFresh is another company like that. I forget. There's other companies that do this as well. I don't know much about HelloFresh. Perhaps they send very appealing food to you. But they decided they were going to put out a message today for Pride Month. And so I thought I would share that message with you. Now, before I share this message, the next 20 minutes or so of this program are going to be quite vulgar. So if you're someone who isn't into vulgarities, etc., perhaps change the channel for 20 minutes or so. Just so we can, us adults, we're going to plow through. All right? So, fair warning to everyone. All right, here we go. Here's HelloFresh's message today for Pride Month. Apparently, this is real as well from their official site. They say, HelloFresh, and they got a little Pride lemon there. Official statement. We know eating isn't always a top priority this month. We respect that. Of course, no time to eat, you know, when you're up to other things on Pride Month. But they continue. But for those of you who are prepping, we have an extensive lineup of high fiber recipes available. Happy Pride. Um, Now, oh, we're waiting for headphones. Okay. Does everybody get what's being said here? What the implication is here? There's an implication. Okay. Now that the headphones are in. What HelloFresh is saying, hey, gay dudes, are you worried that you'll get fecal matter all over yourself while having anal sex? Well, did you know if you ate high fiber, it could help with that problem? We here at HelloFresh are happy to give you a lot of choices so you can fuck dudes. We're happy for that. We're so prideful for you guys fucking each other. It's good. That's what HelloFresh is saying here. Right? It's nice. Because when I think of a company sending me food, I want to think about gay butt sex. That jives, right? That sounds appetizing. Broccoli cheddar. I wonder if someone had gay butt sex before they packed this. Oh, I'm so sorry, Ian. Well, it's going to get worse. I apologize. So, Korik, unbelievable. 100 pounds says nothing to say supporting the channel. Always appreciate it, man. What a legend. And then Blasterbutt says 6'7". I had to. My son would be pleased with that. Why stop here, though? Why stop it? I thought, why not? We should just, we should come up with some other ads, right? For Pride Month. I think it'd be cool. I think it's a great idea. Hi. We here at the Paper Towel Corporation know that cleaning up messes aren't always on your mind during Pride Month. But just in case you run into a bunch of fecal matter, jism, and blood as you're fucking your partner in the ass, we suggest our new 2-ply paper towels to ensure you can clean up all of your messes during this Pride Month. It really does work. It can work with any product, right? Amazing. I think Dom Draper would have a great time just coming up with how could we tie anal sex into our product here? How can we go about that? Well, we serve cheeseburgers. Well, cheeseburgers. Let's see what we can do with that. Let's get the team on it. It's just really surreal. So I thought for Pride Month, I'd talk about this for a minute. And I talk about this from time to time. And it's worth saying. And look, my takes on this aren't going to be popular. I guess I don't care. I just have to be honest with all of my flawed ass self. And I'm very flawed. I have friends that are gay. Do I think being gay is a sin? Yeah, I do. I think that. Do I have friends that sin in other ways? And I know it and they're actively sinning? Yeah, I do. I do. The people I know that I'm friends with that are gay, they're friends of mine. It doesn't come up. It just doesn't. And They're still my friends, and I know that pisses some people off. That's just the truth. I don't think being gay should be criminalized. I think it should be found to be disgusting, is what I think. Your friends you call gay. And same thing, right? It should just be gross. It should be. That's my feelings on it. And I know that doesn't make my gay friends happy. It's fucking gross. That's it. That's the truth. I don't have to fucking like it. I don't have to celebrate it. I don't. I think it's something to be a bit ashamed about, if I'm honest. I'd be ashamed. That's my feeling. I'm not trying to make it illegal. I'm not saying if someone's gay, I'll be like, I can't even be in the same room as you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's disgusting. And it's strange. That's my feeling on it. I have friends that are gay, and I don't throw it in their face like that. I think it's gross or anything, but I think my feelings are known, and we just don't talk about it. We move forward. I don't dislike them at all. I'm not saying, oh, I'm secretly, I don't like them, but I'm not saying that at all. I like these guys. But it's weird. It's gross. That's my feelings on it. And I know it's not the most popular on either side of the ledger because there's so many people that are like, nope, you can't associate with anyone like that. Well, I disagree. And there are those that are like, what's it your business? Well, I disagree with that as well. I don't particularly, by the way, other forms of, I've never, honest to goodness, I've never been someone who's impressed by big man sex stories. Like for me, it's never been impressive. You've probably known these guys. I knew these guys in college that would always have a big sex story for you. Oh man, you wouldn't believe the chick I hooked up with last night. It's like, all right, man, what the fuck ever. It was right up there with dudes that would tell bullshit stories about getting in fights. Those were the two most laughable stories. I banged this incredibly hot chick, or I beat the shit out of this tough guy. It's like, you did it, buddy. All right. Woo! Yeah, gay parents, they felt shame, got married, and have 9 kids. Hopefully they loved you kids. That's right. There'll be some strong black female voices this evening. That's right. But that's my feelings on it. So if you're gay and you're watching, I wouldn't say I refuse to have anything to do with you because you're gay. I wouldn't. But I'd be like, that's fucking gross and weird. Just is. And it's one thing to have like two guys be like, hey, how you doing? We're gay. And then it doesn't really come up. It's another thing to have what we see now. And I think regardless, you might think it's a problem. And I'm open to hearing people say this. You might think, no, it needs to be stamped out completely. I think most people are sort of in my position. Most people aren't like, being gay should be illegal. There are people that are against gay marriage and stuff, for sure. But I don't know many people that are truly saying that just the act of being gay should be criminal. Most people just that don't like it are like, we don't like it. We don't want to see about it. We don't want to hear about it. Keep that shit to yourself. And that to me is the real issue. I can handle people being like, we're gay and we are going to tell you about it because we feel that people attack us for our beliefs. Now, I could agree or disagree with it, but that's one thing. But that's not what we see today. In fact, I was reading a study today that was suggesting that tolerance in the right wing for homosexuality is sharply declined in like the past 10 years. And I think that's because it was never about, well, we just want to be respected. It was about you have to celebrate our sexual kinks. And no, we don't. Fuck you. No. That is where it crosses the line to the point where it's like you make active, hostile people. When you're thrown in our fucking face, that's where it's too much. And that's what this HelloFresh article is. Or advertisement is. I don't want to hear about your fucking sex life if you're straight or if you're gay. Period. So the idea that I have to celebrate your weird fucking perversion, no, I don't. I don't want to hear about it. I don't give a shit if you're proud. You shouldn't be proud of your sex life anyways. And doubly shouldn't be proud when it's a sin and you're engaged in perversion. I'm willing to look the other way, but don't give me shit about being proud about it. And then wanting other people. Is it like the self-esteem thing? That you just think like, well, you know deep down that you should be shamed? And so you want everyone to pat you on the back so you can feel better? Or is it, that might be part of it, but what mostly it is purely a power game. And I refuse to engage. Fuck you. No. Now, being gay is worse, don't get me wrong. But on the same token, I don't want, like, dude banging a bunch of chick Pride Month either. Whoa, check out this guy. He banged 4 hotties last month. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. That too is shameful. Not as shameful as a homosexual thing, but still not something to be proud of, in my opinion. Fourth of July stuff. Maybe it's just sour grapes because I was, never quite the ladies' man. I don't know. For me, though, it's gross. I had an argument, in college, my first year in college. So for us, like I went to the state school 20 minutes from where my high school was. I went to Clarendon University. And that first semester, you're still like a kiddish person. So I don't know. I had good parents, and my parents were very rules driven when it came to school. Like I couldn't just be like, I don't feel like going to school. Bullshit, you're going, unless you're very sick or something. And so, up until I graduated, I was 17 when I graduated high school, it was same old shit as when I was 13. If I wasn't up and out of my room by 7 o'clock, my mom would be beating on the door like, what are you doing? You got school. So that first semester in college, it's a bit of a culture shock for someone like me. Because your teachers aren't calling home to your mom if you skip class. If you don't go to class, no one gives a fuck. It's just like, all right, you fail. Then you pissed away your tuition money. Whatever. But it's weird. It's weird to be like, oh, now I have to make my own decisions. I have to be disciplined on my own. And there's a lot of that initial routine from high school, for me at least, and I don't know about anyone else, that carried over to college. Where it was like, I still went to the cafeteria for lunch. So I scheduled my classes so I would have time off between 11 and 12 or 12 and 1, whenever it was. And I made sure to schedule my classes so my friends also had that time off. So we'd all go to the cafeteria together just like you would in high school. By year 2, you're just like, I don't give a fuck. I wouldn't be caught dead in the cafeteria. I'm fucking doing my own thing. But you're still in that sort of mode. So I remember I would meet up with 2 of my buddies from high school in the cafeteria every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon or 11:30 or some shit. We'd have lunch, and you would always sit at the same table. And there was this table diagonal from us. It was always these overtly gay guys. Overtly. Just super flamboyant and fucking always talking loud. Just always wanting to be the center of attention and clearly fucking, pushing the envelope. And we would always just like, whatever. And then one day this dude was talking about his sexual tryst the night before. And I was like, hey man, shut the fuck up. And he's like, what? Like, you could tell he couldn't believe it. What? I was like, I said, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to eat. And he's like, because I'm gay. I'm like, well, yes, partly. But also because I don't want to hear people up top screaming about having sex while I'm trying to eat. And they were like, we're going to fucking go to the dean and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I don't give a fuck. My buddies were there. My one buddy was like embarrassed. My other buddy was chiming in like, yeah, fuck you. He's more of an asshole than I am. So But we weren't like, I'm more anti-gay now than I was then. In college, I had a friend like that was a bartender who was gay, but it never mattered. Maybe it's one silver lining. If you're a Christian and you're like, I think that, gayness ought to be called out as the sin that it is. Maybe one of the silver linings from all this pride, LGBT shit is that it forced people to be like, enough is enough. Because back then, like I started college in 2002. I mean, I was in a very rural area. No one gave a shit. But no one was really shoving it down your throat either. Like in the town I grew up, there was a guy named Heath, and he was Gay Heath. He was a bartender. People would give him shit from time to time. It's like a joke, but he was all right. No one gave a fuck. And it's like the most redneck town you can imagine. People just didn't really give a shit. Once, like I said, if he shut someone off at the bar or something, they'd be like, oh, they'd throw a couple slurs his way. But as far as just the average populace, no one really gave a shit. But you push people too far where it's like, well, it was one thing that you didn't give a shit, but now you must honor us. And now you must honor our sex life. And it's like, yeah, fuck you. No, too much. And I sort of feel bad for like the gay dudes I knew back in the day and like the gay dudes that are my friends. I don't know if I ever knew any lesbians. I don't think any lesbian exists. I think it's just people performatively waiting till the next dude comes around. Anyways, that's not true. I knew one lesbian, I guess, self-identified. But the idea like this, I sympathize to some degree. I remember reading, the Gays for Groomer X channel where it was talking about this. It was like, holy shit, we just wanted to be left alone. And now all of a sudden we have parades where dudes are walking around naked, pretending to bang each other in front of children on city streets. And we're transing all these children. What the fuck happened? Exactly. It used to have, your town had a gay. It was like an Asian restaurant. Like the Asian community, they're very much like, here, you'll go here. We need an Asian. I gotta be careful. I don't want to get jumped for stereotypes. I almost started to break into a crude Asian accent. Better watch myself. I'm not on. I mean, I am on Rumble, but oh shit. Settle down, Rob. Whew. My goodness, keep the racisms in check here. Anyways, right? Like Asians be like that. Like here's a town without a Chinese restaurant. Get in there, and they'll help out people. Other Chinese restaurants will help out the up and comer. I think that's the way it was with the gays. Oh, here's a small town that doesn't have a gay. Randall, you're in there. Okay, boss. Go be gay. There's a union or something. But they were just, your working man's gay fellows. They just had to be there contractually. Now they have to be celebrated. Randall. Get him, Randall. I told you this story before. Gay Heath worked at Burger King with me, and there was also a guy we called Amish Heath. Now, Amish Heath wasn't really Amish. He was Mennonite, but he was very Mennonite. Like, he was like 17 or so, kind of a tall dude, one of those farmer strong dudes. Like, farmers are strong as shit, man. Like, don't fuck with the farmer. They're throwing hay bales and shit all day. They're strong as shit, you know? So he was like that, like lanky, but fucking strong, you know? Maybe 6'2", 6'3". He comes in, he's like 16, 17 years old. I'm like 18. And Gay Heath was older. He was like 23, 24, if I remember. And, you know, Amish Heath was a bit nervous. Probably hadn't dealt with as many non-Mennonite people as I have. Anyways, he's quiet. And I'll never forget that summer, our air conditioner wasn't working in the kitchen at Burger King because of something. And so it was always hot as shit in the kitchen. And whatever Mennonite denomination he wasn't allowed to wear t-shirts. He had to have long sleeves on when he was in public. So he would have to wear like a long sleeve shirt and then put his Burger King like little t-shirt, collared t-shirt over top of it. And I remember just being like, God, you have to be brutally uncomfortable because I'm like sweating my ass off. And he'd be like, I'm fine. And was very much a soft-spoken guy when he came there. And that all changed when he met Gay Heath. And he was like, I'm not going to work with that gay guy. And we were like, oh, okay, we'll tell the, you know, sort of a religious exemption to working with a gay guy. And, you know, I'd worked with him 2 or 3, granted, it was his first week there. I'd worked with him 2 or 3 shifts, just showing him the ropes or whatever. He's a very quiet dude. And once he found out that there was a dude that shared his name that was gay, I've never heard a string of obscenities from a human being like I would hear from this guy. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. He's just going off. I couldn't believe it. I'd never really heard an Amish or a Mennonite guy swear like that. It was crazy. And I was all for it. I'm like, give him hell. Get him. And then, of course, we'd fuel the fire. Like, he'd come in for work, and we'd be like, hey, what's up, Amish Heath? He'd be like, hey, guys. Be like, so, heard you went out bowling with Gay Heath last night. What? Who the fuck said that? It's like, ha, ha, ha. It was, yeah, it was fun. Amish Heath he was a fun dude. I sometimes wonder what happened to that dude. Unfortunately, I know what happened to Gay Heath. And he passed away of an illness, not gay related. It was unfortunate. He was a very nice guy. He really was. And it's sort of a bummer. But I found out he died there a few years back. But it's funny. That's what it was like. Like, being gay in like a small town was very much like you basically kept your mouth shut. Now, if someone would have tried to beat his ass for being gay, probably most of us would have been like, fuck you, man. Like, we're not going to let that happen. But at the same time, if he came in wearing a rainbow flag and was like, yay, pride, blah, 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 we'd have been like, what? And we would have had some choice words. Yeah, well, you get it wrongfully. Anyways, HelloFresh, thanks for your Pride Month special. I thought about bringing back Trans Positive Rob for the month. But it's just, it takes part of my soul. I just couldn't deal with it. You know, what do we talk about today? There's the Novak stuff, Henry Novak, that fallout still going on in the United Kingdom. California business. Oh, yeah, man. Like, the gay jokes are the best. That aforementioned friend I was telling you, not a gay guy, but just this other guy. One of my favorite stories from my first year. This is probably gonna get me in trouble on YouTube. I'll try to be careful. I see him like on campus, like sitting on a park bench. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he looks like angry and perplexed, kind of like an expression like this, like, And I'm like, what's up, man? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm like, what? He's like, do you know this guy such and such? And he was a guy that was our age that went to another school in high school, but now was going to college. I was like, yeah. He's like, I don't know how to explain this, but I just saw him drive by on a unicycle, and he was eating what I could only call the gayest sandwich I've ever seen. And I'm like laughing. I'm like, what makes a sandwich gay? He's like, it was all leaf. It was just leaf everywhere. It was like the biggest piece of fucking like leafy spinach or lettuce that you'd ever seen. And he was like, it just infuriated me to see this guy with this gay sandwich on a unicycle. He's like, I just wanted to throw rocks at him. I was like, did you? He's like, I couldn't find a rock. So that always stuck with me. I was like, that would be a bit infuriating. See a guy cruising around on a unicycle with a very gay sandwich, you know? It's a bit much. Perhaps one or two rocks hurled your way, like, drop the sandwich, you know? I don't think the unicycle helped. Now, my guess is there weren't many people in that town riding unicycles. So on the off shot, that dude's watching. Sorry, dude, we didn't like your sandwich. Because you probably know who you are. But I won't say your name with your unicycle and your fancy sandwich. Speaking of gay sandwiches, for the first time in 18 years, probably, I did something regrettable yesterday. A new restaurant's been placed in our town, and I went there. It's called Panera Bread. Any Panera Bread fans? Anybody here a fan of Panera Bread? Now, I'd seen Panera Breads, but I wasn't like really stopping in as you're driving around. Is it a local mom and pop shop? No, I don't think so. It's like a chain. That's right, copycat dude. It's a little bit expensive. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, EOD worked there. It's gay sandwiches. That's Panera Bread. Soups and gay sandwiches. It's sandwiches for like wine moms and gay dudes. That's Panera Bread. You know? You go in with your fucking, whatever the new feminist fucking book is that's out or whatever, and you sip your latte and eat your leafy sandwich, you know? And so my son was at my mother-in-law's, and my wife's like, what do you want? And I was like, we haven't tried the new Panera Bread. And she's like, oh, she's very excited. She's like, oh, good. Because she knows my feeling. I've argued with her before. I'm like, So she's like, what do you want? I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, they got a deal where you get like soup in a sandwich. And I was like, what kind of soup do they have? She listed like a bunch of pretentious sounding soups. I was like, chicken noodle. Sounds great. And then she's like, what kind of sandwiches do you want? I was like, a chicken sandwich. And she's like, oh, here's one with like garlic aioli. I was like, And you ready for this? Greek goddess dressing. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but sure. So I'm explaining it to her. I'm like, they're going to accuse me of being a gay man. Because I had to go pick this up at drive-thru. I'm like, I'm going to get there and they're going to be like, you're a gay man. And she's like, no one thinks like that. Just go get the sandwiches. All right. So I go and I get the sandwiches and I come back. My wife's like, how'd everything go? And I was like, it was like these two 17-year-old girls. And they just kept laughing at me, yelling that I was gay. Asked me if I was taking these sandwiches home to my boyfriend. And they bullied me until I cried. And she was like, that's pretty gay. I was like, So now, moral of the story, don't go to Panera Bread. Don't do it. They'll accuse you. If you're a dude, they're going to accuse you. They'll be like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, dude? And you're going to be like, what? I was just coming in for some soup. And they'll be like, oh, soup? That sounds like what a man eats. Soup. So Never enjoyable when the 17-year-old at the drive-through starts giving you shit. I'm like, I'm 40. You don't get to call me gay. And they're like, yeah, we do. Enjoy your leafy sandwich with your Greek goddess dressing. You know? What the hell is that, anyways? Greek goddess dressing. Some pagan bullshit? Now we got pagans taking over our sandwich shops? It's not bad enough. We got a bunch of heathens fucking celebrating Pride Month. Now we got pagans moving in? It's bullshit. Yes, yeah. Yeah, well, the Panera Bread sponsorship probably falling through. It would be fun if you see me here next week like, I love this leafy chicken Greek goddess sandwich from Panera Bread. I feel so masculine as I'm eating it. No. The chicken noodle soup was very good. I have to admit, most of the time, I feel, in my opinion, and I am a big fat guy, so take that into consideration. But most of the time when I eat soup out, if I go to a restaurant and get soup, I find that it is never salted properly. Particularly something like a chicken noodle or a vegetable soup. I like a little bit of salt. And it was amazing. I'm not saying they add that it was an over inducement of salt. I don't know. But it was delicious. I recommend Panera Bread chicken noodle soup. It's just you're going to get called a bunch of slurs when you buy it. You got to be ready for it. Is the soup worth it? That's for you to decide. You think it was plastic? I enjoyed it. The one soup you can get out that's decent's chili. Like places make some decent chili. But I ate at a Longhorn Steakhouse the other day. Ordered medium rare and it came bloody. And so I asked for them to make it medium and they charred it. I was unimpressed. Quiet you. On the super chat train, we got Blaster about $5 says, "Not enough junk in the trunk? Need some jiggle in your step to keep your man? Try McDonald's. Our food-like products have loads of calories. Happy Pride Month." Taxon, $5 says, "Iran rained down on northern Israel with ballistic missiles. So Trump told Bibi to stand down." Oh boy! Wonderful. Good. Look, the whole thing. Fucking battle royale, man. Have fucking Israel send their best 100 and Iran send their best 100. Whoever wins, wins and forever. And then we back no one and get the fuck out. How about that? That'd be nice. I don't know. I'll have to look into the Iran stuff more. We'll try to talk about it more. I did read that there was some stuff going on. A little bit more on the Henry Novak story to switch subjects. I'm going to talk about the back rooms. Is that like a gay thing? I don't know what you mean, the back rooms. I don't know. So I guess not. So we've talked about the Novak thing. First off, oh, it's a movie. Okay. The only movie I was hearing about was the new He-Man movie, which I heard was decent but bombing. So that sounds about right. But First thing I want to say about the Novak, I've covered it a decent amount this week. So my editor puts up a video of it, and I noticed that like the the Fed posters were out. So I want to make it clear here on the channel. I will not tolerate Fed posting. Period. If in your heart you feel that you have justified yourself carrying out acts of political violence, you do not represent me. I don't want to hear it, period. And I recommend that you really think twice about how you're going to piss your life away. But there will be a zero tolerance policy on this channel. Next, if your take is, well, there's no sense voting, well, that's it. There's nothing to be done. You might as well be someone who's on board with the shit you're hearing about. Because at that point, you've co-signed yourself to just bleakness and nihilism, which I don't respect. Get that black pill shit out of here. You could be right that it's impossible to vote our way out of. Fine. But I'll at least try, which is more than what you're doing. To the at least one person that said, why is Rob talking about Novak and not the Epstein files? Well, one, that's just not true. I've talked about the Epstein files quite a bit.
You're right, whoever you are that's worried about this. This is the only issue that ever matters, and my entire show should be in perpetuity, me talking about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if what you could do is replay this 1 minute over and over again, you can see me say Trump's really bad for how he's handling the Epstein thing, and we should criticize him with every waking breath that we ever have. Don't worry about feeding your family. Don't worry about supporting them. Don't worry about taking care of yourself whatsoever. All that matters is Trump Epstein. So will you join me in saying Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein. There you go. That's 55 seconds. The minute will be complete here soon. Please put that in replay for the rest of the show. Thank you.
The difference is, as well, with the Epstein stuff, I've brought people on over and over and said, give me the best you have. What is it? Trump committed these horrible crimes. Like, go ahead, give me the best you have. And so far, what I've got was things like this. Well, Kash Patel said that when asked, he admitted that Epstein had been charged with behavior with a minor. Okay. Well, don't you think that's shady? You mean that he did that? No, that Patel lied. But that's not a lie. That happened. Oh, but it was covering up the truth. What truth? Well, there's redacted shit. I'm open here. I can only be clear to say this. Anyone who's ever assaulted children, whether it be Donald Trump, his family, his friends, anyone at all, should be faced, to keep it family friendly, the harshest penalty possible. Now let's see the evidence. And that's where it falls short. Well, there are redactions, therefore it proves. Right, we saw the last time redactions were removed, it ruined people's lives because it turned out to be people that weren't even connected, that it was right to redact. The entire Biden administration said on these files, if there was anything about Trump, they would have released it. I mean, I don't know. We've gone through it over and over. But furthermore, when I see basically what looks to amount to the police aiding a murder of a white man in the United Kingdom, and your immediate response is, but what about Trump Epstein? I can't help but think that maybe you're LARPing, and you're really a lefty or a person that wants a non-focus on the two-tier police system. That's what it seems like to me. That's how it seems. It seems like establishment people that want us not to make incremental gains or push for cultural positions that help us, and they know the easiest way is to just say, Trump Epstein. That's what it sounds like to me. So I just wanted to clear that up to start with. As always, when I do the call-in show, you have something to say about Trump Epstein, feel free to call in. No one's limiting your topics as long as they're terms of service friendly. Feel free, call in. So, I don't know. I just think it's whatever. The Novak stuff, we talked about it a lot. New reports are coming out that not only did the police behave in this egregious way, but apparently they were going to release a statement months after the murder, as the trial was starting or about to start, that Novak was the aggressor. And apparently what stopped this was the prosecutors that were working with the police department like, you can't say that. Our case says he was not the aggressor. But the police were pissed off that they were getting blamed, and so they were just, they don't give a shit about telling the truth. And by the way, my feeling is, in their heart of hearts, many of the people in that police department probably think that Novak deserved it. After all, he's a white guy that was clashing with a minority, and that's what they're trained. Well, something probably happened. So here we have Will Kensington on GB News. He's going to talk about this story a bit.
And this news broke, ladies and gentlemen, from the Sunday Times in the last hour or so, and I'm still reeling from it. Just when you think that this story cannot get any more shocking, well, here we are. Breaking tonight, police at the centre of the Henry Novak scandal reportedly tried to intervene during his killer's murder trial over fears about what people were saying online. According to the Sunday Times, the Hampshire police wanted to issue a public statement during the trial to combat what they called misinformation surrounding the case. But prosecutors warned the force, that doing so could risk jeopardising the integrity of the trial itself. And tonight, the revelations go even further, and I would suggest even darker. The paper claims officers wanted to portray Henry Novak as the aggressor in official statements released after his death, despite having evidence proving this was not the case, before changing course following what I would say is justified outrage from his grieving family. Police doubting he'd ever been stabbed, and now claims the force wanted to intervene in the middle of a murder trial while public anger exploded across Britain and America. No wonder trust in Britain's institutions is collapsing. And I must say, what we are learning tonight now draws into even more further question whether or not we will see the type of reform that is needed across the police forces of the United Kingdom, or whether we will get yet more lack of transparency and more pushback in an attempt to cover their own backside.
Now imagine the horror there. They had months of evidence to know that Novak did nothing at all. And they were willing to throw this kid under the bus who had already been murdered, who had already been handcuffed, who had already been not believed, who had already been smeared in his final moments as his rights were being read and he's being accused of being a racist. But now they want to shit on his memory as well, knowing that they're full of shit. Because racism. Now, all of it makes sense when you realize that that is their true belief. There is no greater sin than racism. If fighting racism means that you have to help lead to the death and murder of a young white boy and then smear him posthumously, small price to pay. Small price to pay. They continue to stand on the body or behind the family statement, which is one of the most grotesque things imaginable. Again, I said this the day it happened. So what we're told, because Novak's family, who by the way is counseled by law enforcement, said what happened to our son was outrageous. Sikhs should not be allowed to carry these knives. However, we don't want it to get out of hand. We don't want it to get political. Trying to say the magnanimous thing, which by the way you shouldn't say as a parent. You have every right to be furious, especially when politics help lead to the murder of your son. But fine, he did what they wanted. Now they all hide behind that. See, we can't talk about the two-tier system because his dad doesn't want. So I guess if he would have just been more like George Floyd's family and basically openly called for violence, then the media would say, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. So there you have it. By the way, do you think anyone was counseling George Floyd's family on not riling people up? Here we have journalist Trevor Phillip talking to Labor's David Lammy, both black men, about the Novak situation. I thought it was interesting. Let's check it out.
But you don't really know what you're talking about when it comes to our country. Well, let me play you something. This is the Prime Minister in 2020.
Can I start by expressing shock and anger at the death of George Floyd? I do hope that next time he speaks to President Trump, he will convey to him the UK's abhorrence about his response to the events.
Why is it okay for Starmer, and by the way, your colleagues, Shabana Mahmood, Sadiq Khan, all to express views about a death in an American city, even before the trial took place, by the way, whilst J.D. Vance, you get ticked off by you for commenting on a very similar tragedy here in the UK?
Couple of things. Overwhelmingly, the response to George Floyd was horror.
Oh, well, okay. We were outraged, he says. Didn't much care. Wasn't horrified when a non-criminal white man was murdered by a minority. It's different, see?
Right across the globe. I remember we were all at home during the pandemic. It was horror.
But that's not the question I'm asking.
No, I'm explaining the context. That's the first context. The second context, of course, is that we are in government. The J.D. Vance is in government. When you're on the backbenches or in opposition, you're free, frankly, to reflect on anything. But I think there is a distinction.
Oh, it's okay for the opposition to be irresponsible.
No case is exactly the same. But but here we have.
You see, are you starting to see a theme with all these lefties? Words don't have exact meanings. No two things are ever exactly the same. They should never have any system where they're expected to be held to the same standards that they seek to be others. It's always different. We have unique reasons. We're good people, they're bad people. So the standards are different. No two cases are the same. Right. The case that you guys all flipped about was in the United States with a career criminal. This was a British citizen killed in this way. If anything, as British politicians, it would be more acceptable to say something about this case. And yet the entire left in Britain's like, no, it's outrageous. How could we say anything?
A family who've asked for a specific response. I think it was right for me to remind the Vice President.
You see, the family asked for that response. Oh, okay. Hey, family, if you don't say this, there could be racial riots. It's the right thing to do for the memory of your son. Okay, we'll say it. Oh, they said it, so now no one's allowed to comment on the case. I find that to be despicable to the family, hiding behind them.
Actually, also to note the response in Parliament. The Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, SNP, Labour, all broadly in the same place. Only Nigel Farage peddling
the fact that everybody agrees doesn't necessarily make it right. But I want to come back to that. One of the reasons I was interested in what J.D. Vance said was that he used a really interesting phrase, and it's an unusual phrase. Here's what he said. Each time a life like his is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. I looked up what you said about the death of George Floyd. We have to find a way to transform this righteous anger into meaningful reform. I think this is quite interesting because righteous anger is a phrase that you...
Exact same language. You said that about George Floyd. You're upset that J.D. Vance said that. Both of you talking about incidents that occurred in a different country while you're members of government. as apples to apples as it gets. Let's see if he says, you're right. My bad. I've been a hypocrite.
Would I understand? And I wondered if J.D. Vance had actually been taking some advice from you.
I do understand that phrase. And of course, a sort of
Sounds like me debating Pisco.
deep pain and anger as a result of the death. But let me just give you an example
That's my
of
point.
this.
You say that, it's fine. And then you tell, Mr. Farage, who's apparently now beyond the pale, for saying he didn't call for people to go and do things. He said that response that he would like to see is rage. Not that different from righteous anger.
Let's qualify this. Nigel Farage was speaking into the protest and the despicable acts of criminal damage and violence directed at the...
Did you miss the George Floyd riots, including in the United Kingdom? Did you miss that? Were you speaking into them? No, I wasn't. And they were mostly peaceful anyways. But when our opponents riot, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing ever.
Police in Southampton. It was not a responsible thing to do. That's the
He
first
said
thing.
it before. He issued his video before the demonstration. Let's not get into this Trump situation
well,
where
there's-
we
no,
reverse the order of
no,
events.
Trevor, there's also his performance in Parliament at Prime Minister's questions.
Yeah, but you were attacking him before all of that.
After the... No, I think that...
My point is this. You say righteous anger is a good thing. Farage says people should feel rage because of this thing. Isn't it just a little bit selective?
No, Trevor, actually, there was a lot of righteous anger after the murder of Sarah Everard. I think the government's violence
And
against
that was a good
women's...
thing.
Okay. A woman's killed. And now there was righteous anger. How about a white guy? No? That's not allowed.
Wasn't it?
The violence against women's strategy is the outcome of that, which is remarkable.
No.
That's
But
a good thing
why
for
can't
women
you
in
have
this
righteous
country.
anger and rage about this killing?
Yeah.
Why is it so bad?
No. It's about the response. The response that's been asked for by the father, by the family, is common sense.
The family said, not to make it political. Unlike what we tell the families to say if a black family or something, make it political. Oh my goodness, you'll be a hero. You'll be a civil rights icon. When it's a white family, we're like, say the right thing and not to politicize it. And we all need to move on from this tragedy. And then they say, you see, when we call for righteous anger, when a black person's killed, even if it's across the world, and there's riots, whatever, we did the right thing. But when you call for righteous anger, I'm sorry, it's about his family, and they didn't want you to call for it. It's disgusting.
Is calm, is proper learning in relation to knife crime
really?
in our country.
And why was Sarah Everard different
Not
then?
to caricature the...
Why was George Floyd different? Why were you calling for calm and rational response?
Trevor, no two cases are alike. I do want to assert that. No two cases are alike.
Well, because no two things are exactly alike, so I'm subjective. I just use my preferences. But you're not allowed to use your preferences. It's just laughable.
And I think you know that.
No, but this is a serious point.
By the way, I have to give it to this media guy. He's, allowing this man to talk, as you should, but he keeps bringing it back to like, come on, man. No. Everybody sees what you're doing here.
I could show you a dozen quotes. I can show you a quote from, I've got it, Shabana Mahmood. Anger. Sadiq Khan. Fury. You guys seem to be ready to be furious with one set of things, but not on another.
Oh, let me push back hard. Of course I'm angry, upset, deeply troubled that this young man has lost his life as a human being. That's got nothing to do with the colour of his skin.
Is that what you said about George Floyd? I'll bet not. That's not what Labor was saying. And by the way, they're not saying that. They're saying to even call for anger, righteous anger or fury is verboten. We can't do that. No. If it's, yes, we're all angry, we just don't think we should be angry about skin color, then say that. They're right to call for righteous anger. But instead, they're saying the opposite.
He died horrendously.
Well, then
It should
don't
never
tell other
have
people they
happened,
shouldn't feel
Zabab.
rage.
So no.
Don't tell other people they shouldn't feel rage if you do. Which I think, by the way, is the right response.
Yeah, of course it is. But then the responsible thing is the action that flows from that. That's what happened after the murder of Sarah Everard. That's what can happen here. That's why there are the inquiries taking place. It is not to ask people to take to the streets, to damage, to go after the police.
Nobody's done that.
That is not responsible.
Who told people to go on the streets and damage? Name names. If you're going to make that accusation, make the accusation.
As I've just said, there was a big distinction in Parliament last week against both the Conservatives, Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party, and the way that Nigel Farage and Reform sought to pursue this subject.
It's all so tiresome. From the bottom of my heart, if there's one thing that I hope to impart this year, stop giving a shit what these people think about you. You shouldn't have anger. You should respect the family's wishes. Fuck you. Fuck you people. These people see everything as a game for power. And they're going to tell you, that move works, don't do it. We don't want that move to be done because that'll work against us. So don't do it. You shouldn't do it. Don't you want us to like you? Don't you want us to respect you? No. Fuck you. We tried that. That didn't work. It's every one of these people. Then, of course, the other thing that came out of the UK was just brilliant. Was this. Anybody see this? I believe this is also an MP. Now, if you haven't seen, if you've seen this, don't answer. If you know what this is about, don't answer. So I'm holding you to the honor system. A white man just broached a topic with this lady on a talk show. Okay? Now I want you to guess what he could have said to make her make that face. It's not guess. Well, it may be, but what do you think it is? Any guesses on what? Now, don't answer if you know. What do you think? What do you think the guy said? Take a guess. I'll give you another clue. He was making a sort of conservative point. Any guesses? Men are men? That's a great guess, but no. It had nothing to do with define a woman or a man or, yeah, nope. Brought up robnoerr. No. Waffles over pancakes. No. A small hint. White people are equal to black people. No. Whites belong in a kilt. No. Something with white. Oh! Okay. We're on the right track. It has something to do with immigration. Okay. Now you know it. But it's more specific than just immigration. Close. It's something specifically to do with it. Any guesses? Now, I can't find the real clip of it. All I could find someone reacting, but I think you'll get the gist. Megamax, I think you cheated. Yes, the claim was that immigrants use houses. That they could contribute to a housing shortage because they too live in houses. And that is the face of immigrants live in houses? What? Yes, that is the face. Here is, I can't find the actual clip, but here's a guy covering it. You'll get the gist.
Blaming our housing crisis on immigration is absolutely wild to me, actually.
No.
But
that says more about you because we've got an extra 10, 20 million people come in the country.
Do you think that if
do you not think an extra 10 million people is going to have an effect on housing?
Do you think that if we lock down our borders, we're going to solve the housing crisis?
Well, that's not what he said at all, is it? He didn't say if we lock down the borders, we'll solve the housing crisis. He said that immigration is helping exacerbate the problem. Which he's right. And she's like, what? Again, this guy commentates, he's fine, but
the thing is, the more people you have in a country, the more houses you're going to need. I know it might sound...
He's really good at explaining things like this, isn't he?
It's like to a 3-year-old. I'm going to pause it here 1 second.
Yeah.
He's really good at explaining things, isn't he? Well, it's a simple concept. Now, there's two things going on. This is a lefty, and I'm sorry I've become more and more of this guy, but this is a woman. And this is how a lefty woman thinks. You see, immigrants are good, and therefore there could be no negative consequence that comes from immigrants. And she knows, in her bubble, everybody knows immigrants are good, and everybody knows that anyone that says that there's anything wrong with immigrants is a fucking moron and a racist. And so when he might as well have said, blah, 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 immigrants inferior, whites the best. And her response is, you guys hear this? You hear this? That's her argument. Now, you can make fun of her, but that argument has worked for her entire life as a left-leaning woman. That shit would work in college. That shit would work in the HR department at the company she works with, and that shit works politically as a left-winger. So go ahead and make fun of her. She's a fucking MP, and it's that attitude that got her there. That's how fucked up our political system is in the West. And that's how so many of these lefties here are. Everything. There are people more articulate that have better emotive responses than this woman. But it all comes down to that central principle. We're good, you're bad. So therefore, everyone we stick up for is good, and your reasons for saying something's wrong with them is bad. You guys hear this? I mean, he might as well have said, I don't think human beings should eat food. And she'd be like, that's what it's like to disagree with him on anything.
He says the more people read
The issue.
anyways.
Using immigration on the issue of housing, I think is absolutely.
Are you saying it has
unjust.
no impact on housing?
Now, this is my favorite part. So what's her objection? He makes his point. She goes, wow, you're good at explaining things. And she goes back and she repeats a generalized version of his position. You're saying that immigration has something to do with housing? Because she can't even formulate an argument. She can't formulate an argument. It's just... Now But listen, this is my favorite part coming up. Listen to this.
Anyways.
You using immigration.
Listen to her stutter. She can't even come up with look, like something simple. Look, these immigrants increase GDP, and it's led to the building of more houses to the extent that they use up houses, of course. But if we didn't bring them in, we would just have to have more children that would fill these jobs, which also would need houses. So clearly the problem's systemic to something other than immigration. Now, it doesn't matter that I just came up with a bullshit argument at the top of my head. At least that sounds like something. This is all she could muster?
Concept? Anyways.
You using immigration on the issue of housing, I think is absolutely...
Are you saying it as...
Just incredulity. Ugh. And he says, so you're saying, this is the best part, you're saying it has no impact on housing.
No impact on housing.
I think Andy wanted to come in.
Can't even answer.
Do you want to just answer?
She's like, that guy wanted to talk over there. Sound familiar? It's like debates I have, asking the moderator for help, right? Oh my gosh, what you said is so ridiculous. Really, can you tell us why? I think that guy wanted to talk over there. Oh, no, they're like, no, go ahead. Please, give us your rationale.
That's that question for Rob. Do you think it has
Does
no impact on
immigration have an effect on housing?
Whoever lives in this country has an impact on housing, of course.
So
The
immigration.
numbers of people in a country. That's not necessarily to do with immigration.
Let me let Andy.
Again, everybody's rightfully going to make fun of just how absurd that is. Just the incredulity, the arrogance. Someone else answer, like the complete bereft of any intelligible thought whatsoever. But to me, the real story is that works. It works. That's got her through life successfully. Good on you if you've never dealt with someone like that. I've seen these people over and over. Just absolutely nothing there. No critical thinking whatsoever. Just sloganeering, incredulity, weird faces that they make at you. And that not only factors in for an argument for a personality. That tells you everything you need to know about that woman. That. You'd be able to tell, yeah, she's at the supermarket and the sale coupon didn't work. You know exactly how that conversation's going. She has more of a say in the running of her country than you'll ever have in yours. So we could laugh at her, but the joke's on us. And until we stand up and say, this shit's ridiculous, you don't deserve an opinion. If you're that incapable, if all you're capable of is performative outrage, sit the fuck down. We don't have to pretend like these people have some sort of thought to add to the conversation. Sit down. And fuck it, since we're on women in politics, I suppose I'll come to the aid of my good friend, Lauren Southern. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Andrew Wilson. So first, let's play Lauren's video that she puts up. She has this exchange. Now, instead of playing the actual clip from Piers Morgan, I'm going to actually play Lauren Southern's response, which are partial clips from her conversation with Andrew, and then her adding in gotchas from things that Andrew's previously said. Right? Now, I've never really had a sour interaction with Lauren, just to be clear, but I'm certainly better friends with Andrew than my non-relationship with Lauren. But I just wanted to get that out there.
They are struggling to impose trad ideals. It's something they may want, but they simply can't have the stay-at-home housewife when the economy is the way it is. Just let me finish, Andrew. And it's not even what...
I'm going to try to break this down, right? I'm honestly, to the best of my ability, trying to intuit what she's saying. I know what Andrew's position is and why he's asking for specifics, but I'm going to try to look at it through the lens of what Lauren Southern's saying here, to be as generous as possible. So it sounds to me like what she says there first is there are some sort of trad type people. I didn't hear that part, but she said they're trying to impose trad values, but they're struggling. They want basically women in the home, but in this economy, we need two people working. And Andrew says, who? Like, who specifically?
Most people want. 75% of men say they want a working woman in their life. Men who get married older and women who get married older tend to have more successful relationships. Higher educated families tend to be less likely to divorce. A lot of the stuff that the trad life is advocating simply does not play out in positive results, born in the data or in what I'm seeing around.
Okay. That's just like the idea of women staying at home and not working and stuff. Actually, turns out the data she's talking about says that it's better off for the women to be working. Disputable, but fair enough. That's the claim she's making. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, but this is really elusive, right? And you use ambiguous language and equivocation here a bit. Let's start with this. What is trad exactly? What even is it?
Okay, her criticism seems to be against trad people. And Andrew says, what is trad? This is fair. So far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. If you look at the online world, I think it's this assumption that you have the man go to work, you have the woman stay home, she's having the children, you get married very young, you stay a virgin until marriage, you don't go to university, you kind of go into the trade. Certainly women don't get educated. There's just this idea that we go back to the 50s, which I think is...
I don't think so.
Now, let me be clear, and I'm going to steelman sort of Lauren's position here. Right? Steelman's not the right word. I see where she's going, and I don't disagree to some extent that there are people that think, look, it's better if women don't work. Men, instead of getting some absurd college degree, go into the trades. You should stay a virgin until you get married. I largely believe that stuff. I don't think it's universal. I don't want to enshrine it into law, but culturally, sure. Do I consider myself like a tradcon? No. But okay. If that's what she's talking about with tradcons, now my understanding is either before or after this part, she's going to talk about how these tradcons are LARPers. LARP, acronym for live action role playing. The key part being the role playing. In other words, you don't really believe, you're like an actor, you're playing a part. This is where Andrew's central criticism is going to come from. I think Andrew has two general criticisms based on conversations I've heard him have in the past and what he says here. The first is you lump a bunch of shit in with trad or with whatever Andrew considers himself. So people will look at Andrew and they're like, Andrew, red pill guy, like Andrew Tate or Myron Gaines. But it's completely different. He argues with the red pill people all the time. It's a different value system. So that's his first objection. You're sort of lumping a bunch of people together, and you really have a problem with people like Andrew Tate, but that's not the group Andrew's affiliated with. So who are the people that like is in Andrew, whether you want to call them tradcons or paleocons or Christian conservatives? Who are those that you feel are LARPing, that are pretending? And that's the other part. It's a category error, but it's also an error of vagueness. There's no specificity. How could you determine if someone is pretending to have values or not if you won't tell us who those individuals are? Like, yeah, I would say, maybe instead of LARPer, I'd say the word grifter. Do I think there are conservatives that are grifters that don't really believe? Sure. But before I write a book or something about, the conservative movement or whatever, I'd at least want to come up with some names that I could back that up with before I made it a big central point. So if you're going to complain about these people, maybe give us an idea who they are. Tell us who they are, and then we'll be able to look. Oh, are those tradcons? Are they LARPers? That's the point that Andrew's getting to.
Fantasy. It's fantasy.
Who's advocating? Well, tell me who's advocating for these things, because that's not the advocation that I ever see when it comes from traditionalists.
So I would try to move towards a patriarchal system where women were slowly phased out of the workplace altogether, and then that solves this problem.
Okay, I disagree. How do we survive and live?
The same way that we survived and lived for most of our history, which is without women inside the workforce.
One of the traditions, arguably the most important, is the family structure, whereby the man is the protector and the provider, and the woman is the helper and the homemaker. Now, apparently that is a controversial thing to say, but it's only because we have had 100 years of propaganda pumped into our collective heads. Feminist propaganda and feminist conditioning that paints working women to be the embodiment of success, and that
he's absolutely right about all of this. Jake doing.
You see who Lauren's real mad at? Of course! That damn Jake Rattlesnake. How do you feel about yourself, sir? Now, I don't know that Andrew calls himself a traditionalist or a tradcon. I don't know. I just don't know. I could articulate in general what I think Andrew's beliefs are, but I don't know what label he puts on. I certainly don't think he's LARPing, but okay. Andrew said these things. Okay.
The Lord's work over here. What I see advocated from traditionalists is something completely different. They're trying to epitomize a value structure, not necessarily a lifestyle structure. It's a self-sacrificial system based on a hierarchy, and mostly a church hierarchy. Those are the advocations of the values that I see, not a go back to the nuclear family 1950s. We've been past that for an awful long time. So I don't actually even know, who are these people that you're...
And so what he's saying is, the real issue is not just go back to the 50s. The real issue is, we understand the 50s have long since passed by, and that we have sort of a traditional family structure that follows like a church hierarchy, where the church is over the man and the man is over the woman is over the children, and we go back to that. And there's a framework within that can work that would be different for other people. But, okay.
Referencing here specifically, who are these specific people who are saying this, we want to go back to the 50s, women aren't allowed to work, right? Who's saying it?
Now, I don't know if there's a misunderstanding, and nor do I know exactly what was said up to this point in the debate. But Andrew says something very specific there. Now, maybe Andrew's error. Or maybe that this was brought up and this is what Lauren's really saying. Listen to what Andrew says here carefully.
An awful long time. So I don't actually even know, who are these people that you're referencing here specifically? Who are these specific people who are saying this?
What are the people saying that Andrew's talking about?
We want to go back to the 50s. Women aren't allowed to work.
Women aren't allowed to work. Now, again, unfair, and I have a bias as Andrew's friend, right? And I happen to know his argument better than Lauren's, right? But this is one of the issues I've heard him, and particularly Rachel, in her book, Occult Feminism, talk about a lot. And it was something that I myself fell for. And that's the idea that prior to the feminist movement, basically the world for women was one where they were forcibly cloistered in their home. They weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to, own bank accounts. They weren't allowed to leave the house without their man. And almost all of that's bullshit. And so Andrew's specific objection. Now you might say, but that's not Lauren's point. That could be. Maybe Andrew misheard. Maybe Andrew's purposely strawmanning her. I don't know. Maybe she did say that. That I don't know. What I do know is, it is clear that Andrew at this point is asking specifically,
Who are these tradcons that are saying things like women should not be allowed to work? Because I am in agreement with Andrew. I don't know anyone saying we should prioritize a system where women stay at home and men are providers is different than saying women should not be allowed to work. That's like if I said, I prioritize saving yourself sexually for marriage, which I do. That doesn't mean that it should be illegal to have sex outside of marriage. Those are two different things. In my opinion.
Right? Who's saying it? Who's advocating this throwback to the 1950s specifically?
And not
You're
all of
not
it's
giving
bad,
me names.
but there's a lot of LARPers. I'm not giving you names.
Okay. Now, it sounded like an edit there, but in my defense, this is Lauren's own video. So, I would assume she's either editing it fairly or editing it to her advantage. So, I don't think that I'm wrong to use it.
Who are the names of these people specifically? The name one. Who are the traditionalists specifically who are advocating?
She said she's talking about there are plenty of LARPers. He's like, who? Who are these people? Because to say something in the abstract like that, well, there are LARPers out there. Sure, but give me an example. Give me a specific name. Not just random anonymous people. Give me the LARPer. Give me the person who's pretending to be Christian values person or what you're calling tradcon values that really isn't living that life. Go ahead. Tell us who they are. I'm sure some exist. But before we just accept that it's like an impugnment of the whole movement, can we get some specific names?
These things. I think you built an entire
You don't think there's anyone?
Oh, you mean in the 1950s? You mean in the 1950s when we had intact families where 95% of women were getting married as virgins, where families weren't being broken up, where crime was extremely low, where you only needed one income to support an entire household, where mental illness was at an all-time low, like that 1950s? I'm sorry that I make a reference to a time.
Are you married?
Okay.
But again, even that. By the way, I think she has somewhat of a point. It's not unfair to say, hey, we're talking about 1950s, people wanting to return to 1950s. Andrew, you've alluded to that. But to be clear, that is an edited clip. And I didn't hear Andrew say, I want a direct return to the 1950s. It sounded, based on the editing of that probably it was Andrew's opponents that said something effective like, you're going to take us back to a bad time, like before women could vote. And Andrew said, oh, like the 50s? Which I think women could vote in the 50s. But you see the point. A bad time before women made up half the workforce. Oh, like the 50s? Yeah, that's different than saying, hey, I think the 50s were pretty good for a lot of these metrics. That's different than saying, I want an exact return to the 50s. But let's keep
When I grew up, I listened to Prager University, which said you shouldn't go to university. You shouldn't, you should get married younger. You shouldn't bother getting.
Now, I think she at one point said her first name was Andrew Tate, is a traditionalist. I mean, I don't know what Andrew Tate calls himself, but if her thing is like, I heard her say with traditionalists, you should save yourself to marriage. That doesn't really jive with the little I know of Andrew Tate, who seems to be a kind of like, go get yours, bang a bunch of chicks and drive a Bugatti and don't get married. That seems to be almost an opposite message. And I think the fact that she brought up Andrew Tate really helps make Andrew's point. That's like, you're just lumping a bunch of people together. That, like, you're just like, here's people I don't like. They all believe the same thing. And it's like, no. Now she says, Prager you. Okay? Like,
educated. These are all, I just said Prager University videos that I watched when I was younger in the right-wing sphere.
University? So there, let's say I was King Will.
Okay, Prager you, and now she edits out to Andrew. This isn't exactly Prager you, but okay, let's hear what Andrew says here on trigonometry.
Tomorrow, I'm King Andrew Wilson, and my decrees and edicts go out to all of the land. First thing, mass migration, that's gone immediately. Next thing is focusing on domestic birth rates and domestic birth policies and trying to move America back to a one-income family. The best way to do that is to prioritize from the government level down that women do not defer their childbearing years for college, right? But rather you offer massive incentives to families for them to get married younger, right? Stay at home, have babies with their husband.
The primary reason the birth rate is low in basically all Western countries is because of women basically going to college, which opts their most fertile years. For instance, deferring your reproductive years for college is foolish.
Ridiculous. I've never heard this inside of any of these circles.
You've never heard.
I think he's saying he hasn't heard that in PragerU. And again, what he said specifically, I don't know if it's two people not hearing each other. He's saying, no one's saying that you can't go to college. What we're saying is that we should prioritize society to the more traditional value of man provider, woman home raiser. That's nowhere. I will say this. I don't know that I've ever heard Andrew or almost anyone that has any audience whatsoever suggest that like a woman should not be allowed to go to college or a woman should not be allowed to go into the workforce. There might be specific jobs I've heard people say, we don't want women police officers. But in general, I haven't heard that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't heard it. And so it'd be nice if she raised names. She seems to be just talking about where there have been people that are like, hey, we should prioritize, women raising families. Right, I agree. And that doesn't say that it should be illegal to do elsewise. When he says the government getting, I've heard him talk about this. It's the government incentivizing, give tax credits, give financial assistance to single working households where mothers are trying to raise children. That's different than saying it's a law. And again, I don't know what her point is. And I did ask her, because if her point's like, well, it's just bad to try to go back to a society like that, I'd be happy to have that discussion with her. Why is that bad? Does that make you a LARPer? If you say, yeah, actually, when my wife worked, when we had a kid, my wife doesn't work. And if I have it my way, she will never work again. She will be mom. She likes that system. What's wrong with that? We have a lot of women, I think, that would have been happier had that been the case. But now, because of the feminist movement and this sort of push to getting women in the workforce, not forcing them, not saying it's an illegal not to work, but just incentivizing through cultural and government behavior. Now, a lot of women feel pressured financially that they have to get in the workforce. So if cultural and political pressure has led to women being miserable in that way, what's wrong with applying that cultural and political pressure in the opposite way? To give women a chance to stay at home. I don't see the issue. And again, I don't know. I haven't read her book, and I just don't know what her complaint is. It seemed to me, based on what I read before this interview, she was like, I helped create the manosphere, and there's a bunch of like fake people in it. And it's like, okay, but that's different than sort of the, hey, stay at home and be a mom. That's, to me, I see that as different than the manosphere. When I see the coach Greg Adams, that's like a manosphere guy. He's debating Andrew. They don't like him. The manosphere guys fucking hate Andrew. They shit on him because his wife has children to a previous marriage. That's one of the lowest things you could do according to them. That's not what Andrew's saying. He always gets lumped in this category, Air, like he's part of them, but they don't like him. Well, some of them might like him, but they don't like his ideas. Right? So I don't know, is she making two separate arguments? Is she saying, look, the manosphere people are terrible, and the sort of people that are advocating for marriage, and they also are terrible and LARPers? I don't know, and I would be happy to talk to her about it. I don't know what point she's making.
If she's just making a general point that some of these people on the right pretend to have these values that they don't have, I would think that would be true. But that would be true of any subset of people. So it's like, is that indicative of the entire movement? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see that with Andrew. I don't see it with, I'm far lesser extent, but I don't see it with me. So I don't know. I don't know what she's really attempting to say here. It sounds like the way she's trying to sell the story now, it's just like, oh no, I'm just saying I sort of disagree with some of the things in that plan, to prioritize women staying at home. I think right now it would be hard economically. Okay, that's an argument. It's fine. But that's different than like attacking a whole movement, just saying there's parts of this that I, sort of disagree with. But anyways, let's finish it out.
The argument. You've never heard the argument that, hey, women coming into the workforce ruins society. We need to repeal the 19th. We need to get rid of.
I've never seen a great reason.
Now, she cut that no off. I have heard repeal the 19th, absolutely. But repeal the 19th isn't necessarily an argument that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I've heard people suggest repeal the 19th and say women shouldn't be allowed to vote, and a bunch of other groups. I've heard people say repeal the 19th, and what they mean by that is there are other civics tests that you must adhere to, and if women could pass that, fine. They could vote. So she cut him off just when he said no, and it sounded like he had more to say. So I don't know that he's saying, I've never heard anyone say repeal the 19th.
And why women should be able to vote.
So you would be for women voting?
I would be for women voting.
And you sell a book on how to end simping? You sell a book on how to end simping, but you're a women's rights advocate? You realize that giving women the vote is how we got legal abortion, the welfare state, all the things that limit freedom. You just said Christianity was about freedom. Rachel, letting women vote is the fastest way to lose your freedom.
Okay, but I don't think that everybody should vote. That's one. I definitely don't think women should ever vote. That's two. And I think that all votes, even if you're married, should only be on a household basis. And even then, after it's with public service.
It's why I really believe that we must, as a nation, repeal the 19th Amendment. But giving an overview of the land of the damage that has been done
anyone know?
Through.
I don't know who this guy is. Does anyone know who this is? I know who Rachel Wilson and Andrew Wilson are, but I don't know who this is. Not that it matters much. Just another example of someone that's saying repeal the 19th, I think.
The 19th Amendment. And why it's not just wrong against Scripture, coming from a biblical patriarchal perspective, but why it's never been done throughout history from any other nation. I think that by the end, people are going to go, wow. I think women at the end are going to go, we must repeal this. And that's my hope, is that we can get thousands of people to read this book, and that we can, over maybe the next 10, 15 years, have a Supreme Court case repealing the 19th. If we can repeal Roe v. Wade, or, overturn Roe v. Wade, then I think we can overturn the 19th Amendment. It's just going to take time.
And just for the record, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian.
Okay, so I wanted to show the entirety of Lauren's video there. I think it's an entirely reasonable point of view to come from that exchange and think, wow, is Andrew hiding things he really believes because he's trying to be slimy in a debate? I could see how people would think that. I don't think that's what's going on. I think what's going on is Andrew has heard Lauren's position, and he's heard her confuse people like Andrew Tate with traditionalist. And she puts a bunch of labels on things like traditionalist and is complaining and calls people LARPers, etc., and attacking those. And Andrew's saying it's far more nuanced than that. I don't think Andrew's saying, I've never said repeal the 19th. Maybe he is. If he's saying that, I've heard Andrew say to repeal the 19th. I've heard him say it to me in a debate. So if he's trying to imply now, I never said repeal the 19th, I'm going to tell you right now, I disagree, Andrew. You have said that. But that didn't sound to me like what he was saying. He was saying, no, your characterization of how you're saying these things is incorrect. You're labeling wrong. People really believe it. And I believe I heard in the further exchange,
I watched it like a day or so ago, so I just saw Lauren's video yesterday. It's fresh in my mind. I believe she said one of the examples of LARPing was because the 19th won't be repealed. Therefore, it is LARPing. Well, she has a different definition of LARPing to me. LARPing, i.e. role-playing, implies acting, of saying things you don't really believe. I truly believe almost everyone I've heard, including people in my audience, say repeal the 19th, believe that you should repeal the 19th. They may know that the chances of it happening are very, very small, but that doesn't mean that they don't believe it. If you call a LARPer someone advocating for something that likely won't occur, then there's all sorts of LARPing. I can say getting corruption out of government would be a LARP, because we're probably not going to get corruption out of government. Yet I vehemently believe and push for an outcome that would be as close to that as possible. I think the situation with Lauren, and I'm trying to be incredibly charitable to Lauren here. I'll pull back on some of that charitability in a moment here. But I think a lot of the problem that Andrew's having is like, you say these things, but you have these category errors. You're claiming that they say things they don't really say, like women shouldn't be allowed to work. It's one thing to have cultural incentives for women to not work versus saying they should not legally be allowed to work. Those are different things. But in addition to that, you're just fundamentally misconstruing who is traditional. So I think that's the general argument that Andrew's coming in. So that's why he's like, who's saying these things? Tell me. Tell me the people that are saying the things. Because what he wants her to say is like, well, Rachel Wilson. Okay, you don't think Rachel Wilson believes in repealing the 19th? You don't think she believes it? You don't think she believes that women should save themselves from marriage? You don't believe that? I do. That's not a LARP. So who are these LARPers? But what I said about I'll be a little less charitable, look, it's not something I talk about a lot, but it is worth bringing up here. Lauren Southern is a right-winger who, by her own admission, operated in these spaces and professed some of these things and didn't really believe them and was LARPing herself. It sounds like that's what she's suggesting. Didn't she? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't remember if I saw this in the clip or I saw someone say this. She says something about like, I used to make the pies and like the traditional wife type thing, but I wasn't really happy. I was just pretending. Right? She basically says that. And while she was in a marriage, allegedly, she was sleeping, cheating, not very trad, with someone who happened to be a pretty big lefty and have an alternative point of view in that, she was sleeping with left-wing streamer Destiny. Yeah, so Lauren said she was a LARPer. And so a lot of this comes across as sort of not taking responsibility for your own actions and trying to shirk it off into other people. I was a LARPer, but so are so many of these other people, so I'm sorry. Just because you were bullshitting your audience and telling them stuff that you didn't really believe doesn't mean that people like the Wilsons are. You might not like what they say, but they believe what they're saying, in my opinion. And it's a bit rich. Someone who themselves is admitting I LARPed and made up this shit for clicks for my audience. That's now going to be like, and so is everyone else. And then it's like, well, then name specific names. Who are those specific people then? So, I mean, that's my opinion. Now, if I talk to Lauren, I wouldn't go heavy in on the like, oh, you slip around. I would make the general point like, look, it seems that you were putting yourself out there as like sort of a, traditional housewife type conservative, and then maybe you're now admitting that's not who you were, that you were either pressured into doing that for clicks, or you decided that if you pretended to do that, it would benefit you in some way. Why should we trust you now? How does this not seem like shirking your personal responsibility and just casting blame at others? Sure, I did that, but so's everyone, basically. So, I don't know. That was my feelings on that. And, the idea, I thought Andrew did very well to be like, tell me who these people are. Tell me. She struggled. When the first word out of your mouth's Andrew Tate, the first name, it's like, what are you doing? No, that no one considers him a traditional conservative. And so I understand she feels the need to go back and find clips that try to prove her point, but I don't think it really does. So, all right. Well, anyways, that's my piece on the Lauren Southern stuff. Some super chats. Call Swim a Mile, 5 months a member. Thank you. Says hit the like button. Then he's banning. So, oh my goodness. Jefferson, what's up, man? $2 says there are no violent minorities in Ba Sing Se. I don't know what that one's from. Jefferson, thanks so much for being a member. The family we could arrest for wrong speak for $2. That one I do know. That's from 84. Thank you. Jefferson, $2 says Rupert Lowe's most powerful quote, I don't care. Completely agree. And then Jefferson, another two, says we need a conversation. No, not that one. Right. No. We just want a conversation on if we could weaponize it for our preferred causes. Searsight, $5 says, good evening, Rom. Good evening to you, Searsight. Great to hear from you. Jefferson, again, thank you, man. Says, Southern has PTSD from dissident right grifters. She was one of them, it seems like. So, and then Buddha Customs, $5 says, if your paintbrush is broad and you get no pushback or question, you can paint any argument in your favor. Right. Tinker Type Powers, $2 over on Rumble says, late but here. Thank you, sir. And then, I think that's it. Jabroni Big Time. Thank you so much for the gifted sub. Oh, it's an Avatar Last Airbender? I haven't watched it. I've heard it's good. The original cartoon, at least. All right. Well, you know what time it is. First off, shame on my audience, who are amazing, and the most handsome audience. We're the best looking audience. That's certainly true. We might not be the smartest or the funniest or the most pleasant, but damn it if we're not the best looking audience. Of course, I'm not in the audience. I'm going to break something to you. I don't think I'm in the top 10% of best looking streamers. No. Not even in Pride Month. So. Our man Blasterbot. Look at this, Chad. $100. As if everyone's actually secret exactly like me. Does that mean that everybody loves bourbon, smoking meat, and dinosaurs? Clearly, we should all be able to build bridges based on these platforms. I don't disagree. Our esteemed Chad of the month. Also, don't forget, this coming Saturday, and by the way, I will talk more to my audience about this as the week goes on. Do not forget the Blasterbot, the first annual Blasterbot Dino Battle Invitational. For a mere $50, you'll be able to enter into the tournament to have a dinosaur drawn in your name. You can enter as many times as you like. We'll hold the tournament once at the end of the night. If there's enough motivation to redo the tournament, then we'll crown a Tournament of Champions winner at the end. but you'll be allowed to enter as many times as you want, $50 per entry. I don't hear people bitching about, like, let's say Blasterbutt gets one for free. Only he will get one for free. And so, like, if this was the drawing, we're going to draw him the day of the event. Reach in here, I'm not looking. And Blasterbutt would have been Velociraptor. Oh, not too shabby. Mm. But that's how it'll work. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm hoping. Thank you, Harry. I'm hoping. I'm not making any promises, but my wife, my wife could pretty much give a shit less about what I say on here. But she's always looking to help the channel in various ways. And I think I've talked her into making a really shitty dinosaur plaque that the winner's name will go on. It's going to have like a little plastic dinosaur on it, and we'll see what we come up with. It might be too short notice to actually go get an actual dinosaur trophy or plaque, but we're going to see. Yeah. How would that make you feel to have your name on a plaque as the first ever Blasterbot Dino Battle Invitational winner? Who knows? We could all be dead in a nuclear winter by the time next year runs around. So you may be the only. You get to St. Peter's Gate and they'll be like, "Hey, Lavin, I remember you. Didn't you win the Dinobot? Or didn't you win the Blasterbot Dino Battle Invitational? The only one that ever happened before the world blew up?" And Lavin will say, yes, I did. And they'll be like, nice. Of course, that doesn't affect if you get in the pearly gates or not, but it's just nice. We just want to say nice. Thank you very much, Anyways, so that'll be coming up Saturday. And we'll have a week of shows for you as well. I do have to warn you all, though. June and July are going to be a bit sporadic with my streaming. I have some events. I have some weddings coming up that I have to travel for. And I have at least one super fucking exciting event, a political thing that I'm going to that I'm sworn to secrecy on, at least for now. I think maybe a month or two from now, if I could tell you about this, you guys are going to be like, no fucking way. Yeah, I think it's all but confirmed. And it's a big deal. So I'm very excited. So there will be times I'll try to let you know what my schedule is. But Candace Owens, listener? Hello, Candace saying. What's up? All right. Well, anyways, we know why you're all here. No one gives a shit about me. Zach Kelpie, $5, says, damn right we are. Thank you. And then Bat Fricker 10 says, I told you you're the second best gay streamer for Pride Month. Who the fuck said that? Look, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to be the best at it, All right. This is the premiere show for powerful black female voices. That's right. Right here, your Normal America show. In the rich tradition of the United States, we have white men controlling the platforms that powerful black female voices are on. And you could continue that support by sending this white man money to hear these amazing, strong, powerful black voices. That's right. Of course, I'm talking about our hit segment, I'm Speaking Now. I got an exciting chapter for you tonight. It was brought about based on a debate of my own that I reviewed the other day. I saw the title of this. I read no further and said, let's do it. So, without further ado, we present you our theme song, and then we'll jump right into it.
I'm same shot. Bus late, clock don't stop. Got work, got plans. Still wear last in their hands. Side eye from the man in the tie. Clutches his briefcase, moves to the side. He don't see the weight on my spine. He just sees a story from a lie. I'm speaking now. Everybody hush and listen. I'm speaking now. You gon' hear what you've been missing. Yeah. Every door, you kept locked, we kicking down. I carried all this hurt for ages. She gon' sit and hear these pages. I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Hair shop, Sunday, hands in, scalp spray, hot comb, history passed down quietly. Boss says too big for the floor. Cold words, I've heard them before. You don't say less than out loud. You just build a rule to keep us out. I'm speaking now. Everybody hush and listen. I'm speaking now. You gon' hear what you've been missing. Yeah. Every door, you kept locked, we kicking down. I carried all this hurt for ages. You gon' sit and hear these pages. I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. You drew lines in red on our blocks. Turned our schools into afterthoughts. Underpay us, then say try harder. Blame the seed while you poison water. You make fear our daily weather. Then ask why we carry shelter. From the bus stop to the boardroom, we feel your hand in every room. Every room, every room, every room, every room, every room, every room. Groceries, self-check. Guard eyes on my neck. Lady clutches her purse so tight, as if my hands ain't full of rice. Doctor's office, pain too real. She writes dramatic on the field. You talk the world, we can take more. Then use that myth to close the door. I'm speaking now. Everybody hush and listen. I'm speaking now. You gon' hear what you've been missing. You kept locked, we kicking down. I carried all this hurt for ages. You gon' sit and hear these pages. I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. I'm speaking now. Oh, 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 oh. Pass the mic, pass the mic, pass the mic, pass the mic, pass the mic. One by one, we're calling out different names. Same fight, we still here, we still fight. Truth sounds, turn it up, don't turn us down. I'm speaking now. I'm speaking now. I'm speaking now.
Oh, that's right. I'm speaking now. Someone said, isn't it redundant? Strong, powerful voices, not with black women. There's no amount of adjectives that you could put that are positive in front of black women when they're speaking. My goodness. The greatest thing that this world has ever produced. Confident, intelligent, powerful black women speaking. And we have that in spades here on this show. Of course, as with always, we like to start off with a little inspiration. Today from our book, Laughing with Obama. Well, let's go to an early page. Let's get a good laugh from Obama. Oh. More of a smile than a laugh, but look at that. Help us, Obama. He sure did. Thanks to Obamacare, that woman's premiums have skyrocketed to 4 times the original. Amazing. Laughing with Obama. Of course, though, the real hit of the night, Chicken Soups for the Souls. I'm speaking now. Black women share their truth and 101 Stories of Love, Courage, and Hope. I have a good selection for you tonight. Now, as always, I haven't really read into these other than maybe a little bit of the first paragraph and the title. Today's selection, chapter 53. It's a long one. It's from Dara Joyce Lurie. Now let's hear what Mrs. Lurie's credentials are. Ms. Lurie is the co-director of Black Stories Matter, programming with TMI, Too Much Information, Project in Kingston, New York. Her first book, Great Space of Desire, Writing for Personal Evolution, is a memoir on race, identity, and healing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I remind you, if you find these writings powerful, consider supporting these powerful Black female voices by sending some super chats my way. Of course, as always, we start off with a quote. This one is, the title of tonight's selection, brought on by a debate of my own I looked at the other day. COVID-19 during the Black Lives pandemic. Our quote to get us started is, "There is no room around me in which to be still to examine and explore what pain is mine alone. No device to separate my struggle within from my fury at the outside world's viciousness, the stupid, brutal lack of consciousness or concern that passes for the way things are." Of course, Audre Lorde from the Cancer Journals. Amazing. Here we are from tonight's reading. COVID-19 during the Black Lives pandemic. I walk up to the reception desk at Albany Medical and say, "I have COVID." I do not say, "I think I have COVID," because at this point, I am certain. Earlier that evening, my heart rate spiked to 122, 138, then 148. My temperature shot up to 104. I don't really think the ER can help me, but I need witnesses other than my husband, Lee, to what's happening to me. Maybe I'm hoping they will magically restore my weakened will to survive. What? No one can help me. I just need witnesses that I have COVID. All right. They send me to a quarantine room and the waiting begins. After the first hour, a deep chill sets in. This room, with its refrigerated air, feels like slow death. I can feel my fever going back up. It takes 2 blankets for my body to stop shaking. I stand up. Do my breathing. I do my breathing exercises, as I've been doing these past 10 days. Now we have a little break. Ready? I'd spent most of quarantine sheltering in place as suggested, but 2 weeks prior to my trip to Albany Medical, on the Sunday after George Floyd's murder, the plot thickens. Now wait a minute. Did this powerful Black woman violate quarantine? Is that what happened? She violated quarantine and got the ick? No. Let's see. Let's hope that's not the case. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. We should all still be at home with our masks on, damn it. On the Sunday after George Floyd's murder, this is shocking. Are you ready? I attended a Black Lives Matter congregation in Poughkeepsie, New York. No! No!
wait, I'm sorry. I forgot. COVID was very bad, but racism was worse. We had to go. Powerful black women must go to the George Floyd rally. It was mostly peaceful, I'm assuming. I was invited by the event organizers to facilitate one of the breakouts. How prestigious. That sounds like being a Jubilee All-Star. Well, what have you guys been up to? Imagine, that'd be like, I'll be talking to some black lady like, my name's been mentioned on Joe Rogan Experience. She'll be like, oh, that's impressive. I was invited by an event to organize a breakout circle. And I'll be like, shit, I can't beat that. How many people have ever been invited to facilitate a breakout circle? No one here, huh? Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Time to take a step back and leave powerful black women run the breakout circles. Let that be a lesson. I was invited by the event organizers to facilitate one of the breakout circles that explored the question, what would change for you if Black Lives mattered? Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? What would change in your life if Black Lives mattered? I can't even imagine. I mean, I would assume the first thing that would change would be black people would stop killing other black people. That sounds like something positive that could happen. Maybe we would stop the mass abortions of black children if Black Lives mattered. That could be a positive, right? I don't know. These are questions too difficult for a mere white man like myself. She continues. We created a wide, spacious circle. Oh, bold choice for the breakout circle. I would have went for narrow, tight. But no. Obviously, black woman smarter than me. She goes with wide, spacious for her circle. Brilliant. We created a wide, spacious circle, but we're still not the recommended 6 feet apart. Oh, touche. Oh, okay. Okay, the wide spacious was to attempt to be 6 feet apart with the breakout circle. Okay, now it makes sense. I thought it was an artistic choice, but no, there was a scientific reason for this attempt. All righty. During my active facilitation, I removed my mask. What? Look, it sounds appalling that someone took their mask off during COVID. I know we're all appalled, but listen, this is a black woman. The only group that knows more than black women are trans people. So we have to just admit this woman knows what's best. So she took her mask off. I might say it this way. When I was speaking, but she says it as a powerful black woman, during my active facilitation, I removed my mask and put it back on when listening. Later that week, oh, that's good. At least she let us know. I would have been shocked if I found out she wasn't at least wearing the mask while listening. That would have been too much. Right? Later that week, I attended a large rally across the Hudson River in Kingston, New York. Everyone wore masks. But social distancing wasn't possible. No! Thank goodness we all know that it was impossible to catch COVID at a BLM rally.
because this was the first virus in history that understood politics and didn't affect racial minority groups at rallies, but it would affect Trump supporters at rallies. It was a very fickle virus that we had here. On Saturday, driving through an unfamiliar part of Columbia County, I stopped and asked a woman for directions. She came ridiculously close to me and began speaking. I turned my face away, but did not move away. I wish I... No! Don't talk to me! The COVID! Oh, this poor lady. Imagine that. You go up, some woman comes up, excuse me, how do I get to the nearest town? Well, actually, you go, hey, don't talk right in my face! Okay. Never mind then, go fuck yourself. Anyways. The following Sunday, I woke with a high fever and knew I was in big trouble. I texted Isa Coffee, an herbal... Right, as you do. Anytime you're not feeling good, right, you contact your personal herbalist friend. I'm sure her herbalist. I want to talk to Samson. Take me to that moon like that bitch Alice Frampton. Because it's hard being black and gifted. Wonder if she shares Snoop Dogg's herbalist. All right, anyways. Friend, she's an herbalist, friend, and partner in a COVID wellness initiative. Wait a minute, COVID wellness initiative? This woman knew? And she's still running around talking with her mask off? And she started a COVID wellness initiative? No! Wait, Bug gets it. Get lifted. Yeah. Doctors say I need a backiotomy. Help! Help! Oh, shit. Anyways, we started a COVID wellness initiative we've been working together on to get resources into black and brown communities in and around Hudson and Kingston areas. I wasn't anticipating being the recipient of these services. We've all been there, working with our herbalist to prevent some sort of illness that we ended up needing our herbalist to help us solve. Tale as old as time. Isa responded immediately, meeting Lee with a kit containing important elements, such as, you ready for you get COVID, your important elements kit? You ready? Number 1, thermometer, an oximeter to measure levels of oxygen in the blood, and herbal tinctures to support my breathing and heart health. Yes. Now, I'm not a powerful black woman, but I have some advice. If you're receiving medication that shares its name with a Dungeons and Dragons type RPG, perhaps think twice. If you're getting tonics or tinctures or potions or anything else that increases your HP or MP in a role-playing game, perhaps not the best medication to be taking. However, what do I know? My only question is, why was she only taking tinctures as opposed to like an elixir or a high tincture or perhaps an X potion? Just throwing that out there. An ether, perhaps? I don't know. If you're going to go into the world of role-playing game medications, you might as well go up, right? Anyways. Where are we at? Tinctures to support my breathing and heart health. I had no idea, no precedent in my life for the frightening journey I was about to embark on. You've never been sick? Holy shit. I forget there were people like this with COVID. My wife got COVID when she was 9 months pregnant. And it was like, well, this sucks. And that was about it. I didn't know it was a life-changing journey we were about to go on, but here we go. The frightening journey I was about to embark on through the strange terrain of COVID infection. Unlike many of the illnesses we're accustomed to, COVID does not progress in a linear fashion. Oh, yeah, tell us more. One day, the temperature and oxygen levels are good, and you believe you're getting better. The next day, there are strange pains pulsing through your body, and your fever goes up while the oxygen in your body declines. Because COVID has the ability to access 90% of our cells. It is a highly flexible entity, one that could evade our frontline attempts to put it down. Before this day, when my will to survive seemed to be slipping through my fingers, I thought I'd been improved. Holy shit! Imagine, I got COVID. I don't know. I have a fever of 102. My will to survive is slipping. I just don't know. Damn. This COVID sounds like some serious shit, huh? Whew. Now in this frigid hospital room, we're back to the present, right? I breathe and raise my arms, just as I learned to do in Aunt Peggy's ballet class when I was little. This woman has the most interesting life. She's in ballet, she's leading breakout circles, she has an herbalist friend giving her tinctures. Very exciting. Anyways, back to Aunt Peggy's ballet class. Opening the space in my chest, releasing the oxygen I no longer need. Hold and open, hold and open, hold and open a little more until something releases. Places in my lungs that were starting to close down, go to sleep gradually, numbing off into death. My breath says, "No! Wake up! I won't have this!" What the fuck is happening? Huh? Did she just will her bronchioles to life? Stop it, bronchioles! Breathe, god damn it! And they're like, oh shit, this black woman's speaking. She's speaking now. Let's get our shit rolling. It's pretty impressive. By the third and fourth hours of waiting, I'm exhausted and then desperate. They won't give me any Tylenol for my rising fever. Fortunately, I've brought my own water. I wait 5 hours to be admitted into the inner sanctum of the hospital, where the nurse administers an IV to hydrate me. I lie on an examining table plugged into a large monitor that I'm unaware of until it suddenly begins beeping. I don't know. Do you think that the beeping would have made her aware? I feel like maybe, I don't know, I'm just going out on a limb. Sometimes people aren't always aware of a beeping sound. Just saying. Anyways, I turn and see the red display showing my oxygen levels, dipping to 86, then 79, far below the acceptable level of 95. I watch my heart rate spike again. Lee tells me to calm down, and I breathe, willing myself into calm. The numbers stabilize. The beeping stops. Okay. Waiting and more waiting. Nothing but time to reflect on this illness and the place where I most likely contracted it. I can't stop thinking about the glaring, obvious irony. You ready for this? You ready for the irony? I don't think you're ready for the irony. Let's do it. In a space of black folks gathering, yet again, to reaffirm that black lives do matter, where we were repeating the words of Eric Garner and George Floyd and Henry Novak, right? I can't breathe. I might have exposed myself to the virus that's now stealing my breath. Horrible. Such grim irony. COVID-19. All right. Now look, it's still not as good as the "we are the vibranium" line from a previous chapter, but this might be my second favorite quote thus far. All right, you ready? Okay. Brace yourselves. This is a banger of a sentence. This poor lady, she's suffering. White blood cells would have been good, but no. You ready? New paragraph. So we're right here at this bottom paragraph. You ready? COVID-19 and white supremacy are both stealthy and cruel diseases. Yes. Both put you in positions where there's a beeping sound that you can't identify with, and that's true. It is true that both COVID-19 and white supremacy are stealthy and cruel diseases. COVID-19 doesn't just mess with your respiratory system. It attacks your heart, brain, and other organs. White supremacy enters our bodies carrying a disease set of subconscious beliefs. And unless you are acutely aware of what you are truly feeling and thinking, you will never notice its presence as it silently infiltrates your heart and mind. Oh my God. White supremacy sounds menacing. This shit's crazy. Did you ever watch, what was that movie with, where it was Chris Rock was the white blood cell? What was that one called? Osmosis Jones. Remember? He's in Bill Murray's body, and Bill Murray eats an old sandwich, and then this horrible virus gets in the body, and Osmosis Jones has to fight it. The sequel was him fighting white supremacy, an even stealthier, more lethal virus. Yeah. Osmosis Jones. It didn't make the cut, but I would have watched that sequel. We continue. I still got a lot to go here. COVID-19 is new to me, but I've been long aware I carry the disease of white supremacy in my body. Oh, no. She continues, I know, because I've been paying close attention. So many liberal and progressive white people bristle at the idea they might be racist. Yeah, fuck those white people, huh? They say, I don't have a racist bone in my body, or I'm the least racist person in the world. For so many years, I too lacked the language and the concepts to help me understand what I was experiencing. But that did not inoculate me from the disease. Oh, she's really leaning into this disease metaphor. Whoo! Many years ago, walking up the street of my older Upper West Side neighborhood, I passed two teenage black girls from the projects. For some reason, on this particular day, I caught a soundtrack that had probably played out unnoticed hundreds of times in the past. I heard myself thinking, these girls in their big earrings, tight jeans, popping gum as they walk, or as they talk, are going to grow up to be baby mothers on welfare and never make anything of their lives. Holy shit. Some black woman walking on the street and two young black girls chewing gum. She's like, these girls disgust me. They're going to be welfare queens. All right. Nice. I was horrified by the level of racism and self-betrayal implicit in this judgment. I was disgusted with what I heard myself thinking. But there it was. My own unadorned racism, and I had to deal with it. I'm a racist piece of shit, so you must be as well. Interesting. It's taken me years to understand the mechanics of how I became so alienated from my own identity. There's so many stories along this path. I'm sure there are. And I see how they stretch all the way back to my Jamaican great-grandparents. Hey, mon, they're Jamaica, mon. And grandparents passed on to me by my American-born mother. I see the long path of those first ancestors emerging from the slave ship into a world fraught with new rules that needed to be grasped quickly because survival depended on it. My great-grandmother, Isabel Turner, was an acknowledged daughter of an Irish plantain owner and his I don't even know if I can say this word. Starts with an M. Mall blank O. Mistresses. This was an important marker. I could see how, from the slave ship to this moment in the 19th century, my family line had progressed steadily along a path that would erase as much of the African origins as possible. Now I have a question. This is going to make me sound stupid. Let me reread this sentence and you tell me if there's something wrong with this. She says, I can see how from the slave ship to this moment in the 19th century, okay, so she's not talking about the current moment. She's talking about the moment with her. The syntax is a little off. My family line had progressed steadily along a path that would erase as much of its African origins as possible. I see myself at a crossroads on this path. In the late 20th century, when, as my aunt once said, if you were to have children with a white man, those children would be seen as white. Perish the thought. 8 hours of waiting in these freezing hospital rooms, and I finally have to stand up. Probably making her white because she's black, right? That's the only explanation. I can't deal with being prone and plugged in any longer. I work my way around the IV tube and the monitor line, attach my finger and stand at the examining table. The nurse comes in. I want to go home, I say. I'm so sorry, the nurse says as she detaches the IV drip. I can't do anything. Outside, in another room, a man is bellowing. I'm in pain! I'm in pain! He sounds angry. I try to stay away from anger because it drains my energy. It sets my heart rate into an uneasy pattern. This woman's fucking insufferable, right? Like, I don't get angry. My herbalist gave me tinctures and said that it sets my heart on a pattern unbecoming of an intelligible black woman such as myself. Oh, jeez. Despite my best efforts, I felt the roiling in my blood. My own impulse to shout, I'm in pain, I'm furious, fuck this shit. I've been carrying this impulse for most of my life. No shit? Black lady that just wants to yell fuck it to everything? It sounds so unnatural. Sometimes venting it, but mostly suppressing it. Understanding that an angry black woman is perceived as a threat. No, really? I understood the price that the white privilege extended to me was my silence. Or at best, a voice mudded in academic tones of reason when speaking about my experience. It meant never shouting, I'm in pain! I'm starting to doubt that some man was yelling, I'm in pain. It sounds like that's something she would like to make up so that she can make some metaphor. Now I feel a wave of petulant anger emerging. I want others, the doctors, the nurses, to feel my discomfort. One part of my brain understands that they're working hard, but another part says, fuck it! I've been here for 8 hours and I need to go home. I need you to care about me! A lot of explanation points being used. I recognize my voice of white privilege. Of course. Just so you know. At the hospital and feel like you've waited too long, that's white privilege. There you go. A voice formed from early based on the belief that the world should, would, must care about me. That's white privilege. I've moved through my life, alternately expecting and demanding that the world care about me. Unlike so many black people in this country, I've not lived a life where my daily survival is in question. Blame other black people, I guess? Until contracting COVID-19 and having to turn my entire focus on survival, I've not known a life where I can't breathe is my truth.
She must have really had a bad case of COVID. It's been a frightening and strange new reality for me. I've been fortunate. People, society, and circumstances have extended much grace to me throughout my life. I felt that grace walking out of the ER, 12 hours after checking in, with Lee by my side, steadfast and loving. As we walked down the hospital ramp to find a car, I felt we were walking away from the scene of a battle. Gazing at the sunrise, I felt gratitude, knowing I would have a chance to heal. It's impossible for me to imagine the lives of black people who live with the daily struggle to breathe easy, whether because of daily microaggressions or fentanyl. Oh, wait, no, she doesn't include that. Daily microaggressions or outright violence experienced by other black people. No, I'm sorry, she doesn't say that. Experienced in white spaces. Yes, those microaggressions in white spaces that force blacks to not be able to breathe. Systemic oppression, harsh working conditions. Yes, that's the real problem with this country. Forcing blacks to be employed in harsh working conditions. Fear, anxiety, high blood pressure, PTSD, and so many conditions common to the black experience in this country. I cannot imagine these lives, but I now have a real corollary. Me too! I'm basically a black guy now. I've had COVID. No shit, that's all it takes. I too can't breathe as an asthmatic. So I'm basically Eric Garner. Give me my reparations. Like the disproportionate number of other black people experiencing COVID-19, I understand what it means to struggle to breathe, to feel my entire body overtaken by an invisible force that desires only to crush my will. COVID-19, white supremacy. They both attack hearts, minds, and bodies. Evolve though. They enter. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, good point, lady. Oh my goodness. On the day that my fever spiked to 104, Isa said to me, that's the herbalist, I remind you. I truly believe that this virus carries fear into the body. Yeah. A little while later, as I immersed myself in the soothing bath she recommended. We're getting a little 50 Shades of Grey here. Come on now, lady. I felt the essence of my fear emerge from behind the heat and confusion of my fever. I understood what my body had been feeling. The presence of an invasive intelligence. That, having gained entry, was now attempting to rewrite the very language in which my body functioned. Yeah, the coronavirus, like millions of people get those every year. I don't know that I would describe it as an intelligible force infiltrating your body, trying to rewrite the entire language of how your body functions. I'd just say you had a cold, but again, I'm not the powerful black female voice, so what do I know? As I named this fear to myself, I felt a burst of coherence. A simple determination that would carry me through the next 12 hours in the ER and beyond to the following days, where my body would begin the slow process of healing. There is a great power in the naming of a thing, in myth, fairy tales, and fantasy. These words, incantations. See, I told you! You thought I was bullshitting you when I said that the tincture lady, it was like from role-playing games. Now listen, now we're talking about magic incantations. Incantations or codes hold the key to truths that have been intentionally hidden. Truths that are needed for the survival of a people, sometimes their very planet. Okay? Sure, okay. We are at the convergence of many crossroads now. A place where magic words need to be spoken by each of us. Well, I can think of one magic word. There is one magic word, but I don't think we're allowed to speak it. But it has magical properties. It's like a rage spell.
Am I allowed to say it now that the book is? No, okay. I don't know that YouTube accepts chicken soup for the souls. I'm speaking now is giving me the N-word pass. So we'll move forward here. We must be willing to listen with deep honesty to the words we've been speaking to ourselves all along. Chud the Builder, what do you say? And acknowledge the fears and judgments we hold against ourselves and others. We must be willing to stand, as I did many years ago on the Upper West Side, in astonishment and shame, and resolve to do better. We must learn to care for ourselves in the process, because like COVID-19, white supremacy is a shape-shifting disease that has worked its way into the deepest recesses of our beings. Each one of us must become willing to name our hidden words. She's really tempting me here. Come on, lady. And move forward with intention and with gratitude for this opportunity to heal. Ladies and gentlemen, have more powerful words ever been written? I don't know. What an excellent selection this fine evening. If that didn't inspire you to send this white man super chats, I don't know what will. Truly an inspiring performance. I myself feel like I'm shape-shifting into white supremacy as we speak. Like Jekyll and Hyde situation. White supremacy. I want to go into spaces without black folks shouting that I'm a racist. White supremacy. I think we should try to deal with violence in the black culture. I've shifted into white supremacy. I'd like to be able to rap DMX lyrics without being called a racist. White supremacy. Whew. Man, what a terrible affliction, man. Is it a full moon tonight or something? This shape-shifting shit. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. I'm turning into a based white man. No! Damn this! I thought like Coprin 3 was the worst thing to worry about. Little did I know I could contract the shape-shifting disease of white supremacy. I look like I'm doing an anti-citrusum. Oh my God. I did. I spent a lot of time looking for those glasses. You're damn right. I was a DMX fan. I liked X, gonna give it to you. Oh, dude, I remember when Rough Riders Anthem came out. Me and my boys going in my buddy's truck with his like 3 lift kits on it, driving to the bowling alley. Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. Whoa, you know. I gotta stop. My wife will hear me downstairs. She'll be yelling, as a Rough Riders roll. You know. That's it, man. DMX was the shit in my high school. People loved it. Well, I hope you've all been pleased with these powerful black voices that powerful black female voices that we've been highlighting on this channel. That was a good one. Let's read some super chats, shall we? Donald Frank, $5 says a black is a great idea, but how about a hand-drawn autographed dino pic by Hank? I still got my Father's Day Hank drawing up there. That's a fish he made for me. He's a little better than that now. He's really into this like crafting clay now. He does great. Lauren Southern can complain and call people LARPers that are in the trad. I'll tell you this. I'm not here to give you life advice. There's nothing in my life that's been remotely as positive as getting married and having a son. It is the greatest feeling in the world. It really is. Old Snipper, $5 says, thanks for providing me great debates to listen to while I get stomped in Fallout 4. I love you, Rob. Of course. I have never beaten Fallout 4, but I probably put 30 hours into it. I'm the type of person that'll play a game and I'll get to a part in it where it's tedious and I just give up. And 95% of the time, that tedious part is like a side option. Like, I'll be like, oh, you're trying to collect all of this item, right? And then, I don't know, I'll stumble upon a strategy guide or something that's like, oh, you missed that item in that previous place, and now you can't get it. And I'm like, well, then I'm done. And it's like, yeah, but that's not necessary to beating the game. I don't give a shit. I'm frustrated. I'm done. Witcher 3, same difference. I made it to like in The Witcher 3, I made it to like the sort of Viking island. I don't know what else to call it. And I was just doing side missions and got bored. And I like never really advanced the main story and was like, I'm bored. And that's it. I'm like that with games all the time. The game I've been playing recently is one I bought on Steam and never played years ago. It's called Wasteland 3. And I'm considering being done with it because you get a little clone guy that fights with you. And if he dies, you have to pick up his item. And then he could get the clone remade. And apparently he died unbeknownst to me. And I didn't pick up the item. And I don't know where it's at. And I'm pissy. Now, this character adds nothing. He's like a weak level character that's more of a pain in the ass than anything. And yet still I'm like, that's it. I'm pissed. So I don't know. Anyways, Blasterbot, $5 says, these mostly peaceful, powerful black women were speaking then. There was no way COVID would interrupt them. That would be rude. Of course! You want to talk about white supremacy? We got rid of Spirit Airlines. That's bullshit. I have played Red Dead Redemption 2, and I beat Red Dead Redemption 2. However, I stopped at the epilogue. So I don't want to spoil the game for you. I think it's a tremendous game. But there's a part where there's some closure in Red Dead Redemption 2, but the game continues with an epilogue, and I just stopped at the closure. I didn't play the epilogue. So, Buddha Customs, man. $2 says, we did break-in parties or neighbors' house shop. It wasn't really my jam. Lower class, what's up, man? $3 says, for the grift. Thanks, man. Great to hear from you. Wicked Wally, $5 says, I survived because I had a supply of Phoenix Downs. Of course. What did you cast Life 3? Isn't that the one that auto resurrects you if you're taken out? Also had a supply of tents to heal the whole party. Of course, X potions and elixirs. Of course. Yes. I wish we all had herbalists to provide tinctures to us. EOD, what's up, my man? 10 memberships. Thank you so much, dude. And then Wrongful Lee, $5 says, as always, no embellishment in that story. Just a pure experience from a strong black woman. Thank you, Rob, for sharing these life experiences. Of course. If not me, then who? At this point, people know if you need stories from powerful, intelligent black women, come to me. I'll have to get back out to the bookstore and see what I can find. I thought that Red Dead Redemption 2, I've had more fun playing games in certain sections. for me, it's a fun game. It is. Don't get me wrong. But there have been times I've played games that I'm having more fun than with Red Dead Redemption 2. But for me, Red Dead Redemption 2, I would put as like literally a top 5 story that I've ever consumed, whether it be book or movie. Like, it is abso-fucking-lutely incredible, the story that they tell. Now, it's a bit, there's a little bit of fucking, okay, like, we're all thieving murderers, but we're multiracial. That we are. Okay, whatever. But if you get past that, and it's definitely long. That's true. But it is, I don't know. I didn't think The Witcher story was better. The Witcher 3 story is good, though I didn't advance the main story that much. But I was a big fan of... I started playing that Claire Obscure game, and then I had the same shit happen with it. I actually had fun with it. The first, like, hour and a half of that Expedition 33 is pretty, like, pretty intense. I guess I'll put it that way. And the gameplay's, it's like a traditional RPG, so I don't know if you're into that. But yeah, that you have to time attacks. I was not very good at that either. But I got to a point in Expedition 33 where it was, again, I'm trying not to spoil anything. It's reasonably new. And there is a point, I don't want to say halfway through the game, I'm guessing maybe a third of the way through the game, where there is a really big change in the game, and I just quit after that. I just was like, I don't know. Like, I don't get a lot of time to play video games, and so it's like, yeah, that's sort of, I don't know. Yeah, it has to do with the main character, yeah. And people have told me, no, if you push through, it's really good. And I was just like, I don't know. Spencer Pratt is officially losing. Yeah, see, that snipper gets me. I played one the other day. I actually beat it. It wasn't that long. I think it was like 15 or 20 hours. It was called, I still have it on my computer. It was called Norris, Oath of Blood. And it's like you're a Viking. It wasn't bad. I like the sort of like XCOM with Vikings. I like that. But it's clearly a half-finished game. Like, clearly. Like, you can tell there's like a map, and like you're way over on this side of the map, and that you can see that like the final thing. Like, I'll give you the gist of the story. You and your sister are like the Jarl's children, and the Jarl gets killed by a traitor, and you escape with your life, and you end up like clear on the other side of the map, and you have to build up with the ultimate goal of going back to your hometown and taking over the usurper, fighting. So you sort of know that's the end of the game. You got to get way back here. So it's like you're over here on the map, and then it's just out of nowhere. It's like, okay, time to end the game. And you're like, oh. So it was clear that it was probably like they had ambitions, and it was like, hey, man, we got a time frame. We got to get this fucking game out. So wrap it up. Manor Lords. No, I had the one that I got sort of addicted to was Bannerlord, Mountain Blade Bannerlord, which was kind of fun. But I just don't know. Again, that's another game that's like, I suppose there's a win condition, but it just seems like never ending, like storming castles and shit. I like the medieval genre, though. That's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Okay. Yeah, Viking raids with women, of course. Were they black
as we all know, the Vikings were black, right? Except when they were committing crimes, that was the white Vikings. Crisco, $20 says, Rob, when you playing Wuthering Waves, giant mech fight, touching father-daughter story, stunning visuals. I've never heard of it. I liked some of the mech games. There was this game I had for PlayStation 1 called Xenogears that was a lot of fun. That's like fighting in mechs. That's another game that felt rushed. Like, I think it was like 3 CDs, and the third CD it was like, oh, and here's some exposition. Now, here's the final boss. What other game? I used to like the Armored Core games. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I played the first one partially, and I gotta be honest, I was fucking so dog shit at fighting at it. I've read reviews, it's like you really gotta like get used to it, and I was like, I don't know. See, I haven't played Assassin's Creed since like Assassin's Creed 2. And I see all these games now like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Neo. I haven't played that game. And I don't fucking, I don't know. I suck at that shit. Like, I liked Assassin's Creed 2 where my character does like the most insane cool shit by me like hitting one button. You know, so I'm on a roof and I could jump off the roof and hit X. And my guy makes a blade come out of his arm and just takes someone out and then rolls into like a building and escapes. I like that. I would, I'm not really into the fucking like, oh, you got to learn to time, parry and block and do this and do that. And I'm like, okay, I like games that were just, you did cool shit and it was easier. You still make the game difficult, but the actual, like, the motions and everything was fluid. Oh, Crisco's spending too much on his gotcha game. Yeah. But I only ever made it up to Assassin's Creed 2. I beat the first one and the second one. I don't have I have a Switch now. My son has a Switch too. I play baseball on it. Fighting games, I haven't played a fighting game in a long time. Dispatch I considered buying. It was on sale. But I don't like playing games multiplayer. Like local multiplayer is fine, but like if I buy a game, it's probably just going to be played by myself. Did I ever play Clash of Clans? No, but I did play the spin-off where it's like the castle. I forget what that one's called. But you can tell it's the same like characters and animation. Shadow of Mordor I started. Zenless Zone Zero. Pragmata. These guys, you guys are in all kinds of, I don't know. Anyways. Crimson Desert, I considered, but the two things that prevented me from getting it was people told me the controls were really difficult, which again, is the exact opposite of what I'm looking for. And then it just seemed too long. I don't know. Stealth games. I love the Metal Gear games. I think I've beaten all of them up until Metal Gear 5. I never really played Metal Gear 5, though. I played GTA 6? Probably. I've beaten all the Grand Theft Auto games to my knowledge. Though, I mean, fuck. I beat Grand Theft Auto 5 like when it came out. What was that, like 8-9 years ago?
But yeah, I'm assuming I'll play Grand Theft Auto. Metal Gear Solid 4 is finally coming to PC. Man, it really jumped the shark, you know? Metal Gear Solid 4. And then number 5, they didn't even get the same voice actor. They got Kiefer Sutherland. I don't know. Yeah, GTA 5 was a lot of fun. Just to dick around. There's so much to do. Just like, even if you're not playing the story, just like pissing around. Here's another game that I've put hours and hours to and never really advanced the story. Skyrim. I've done so much bullshit in Skyrim, and I think the furthest I've advanced the main story was like when you start to get where you could shout. I think I started that, and that's that. I never advanced the main mission beyond that. I just did hours and hours of other bullshit. So I don't know. The main story's only like 3 hours long. Yeah, you just kill a big dragon, right? Force myself to beat Skyrim and Fallout 4, yeah. But I don't know. Well, I owe whip songs. How many do I owe? 1, 2. 2 legends. So I suppose, why not? At this point, everyone knows the rules, right? I'm not even going to say the rules. If someone has a question, ask. And if someone asks who I know is bullshitting me, Wade, I'll be furious. Oh, 2. Well, that looks like a blaster bought one. Oh, boy. Here we go. Hey, yeah. Oh, Wade. Wade Bug says 2 more, please, and goal! That is the goal. Thank you. That was a weak goal, but I started high-pitched. Thank you, Wade. Now I owe 3. Here's the first bubblegum vase, whatever the fudge. My goodness.
There's a way, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. There's a way, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Light says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day, all day.
That was horrible. Next. That one really sucked. Yeah.
Today, but the Lord of the last says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a way, there's a way. Where there's a way, where there's a way, where there's a way. Where there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. Wait, left, wait. Where there's a way, where there's a way, where there's a way. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight, we're gonna march all day. We are the slaves of the dark, Lord's
One more. Oh. Of course, Congolese.
Where there's a weep as a way, people up. Then never know. Yo compte na tête ba force à la chérie. Cherche mancha. Shabu conscience sans gros pas similar right now. Where there's a whip, there's a way. There's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. There's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lord says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, every day, all day, every day. Where there's a weep, better way. Where there's a weep, better ride. Boy, do the answer denk. You up on God la nimbe. Ate no kina. Man te bomo. Sine ne kisat. Young pop. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. There's a way. Right. Where there's a whip, I'm from corner versus a red and a tight. There's a whip. Come back on the way 'cause the red and a fight. There's a whip. For we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war.
That was amazing. Amazing. Oh my goodness. It's been a beautiful Sunday. What can I say? What a lucky person I am. I can't wait to get my son's little play set put together. Finish up. Got to attach this. We're close. We're near where you put the slide together. It's like the little twisty tube slide. Now listen, Wade, if people want to keep donating, I'm for it. You guys make poor Blasterbot and Wade Boggs do all the heavy lifting. Poor guys. Reading news stories. Five more whips. Why? You got to donate. I just give them away. Oh, mine. Well, gentlemen, we'll start to wrap up then. Now, who's on this fine evening other than me? Someone's got to be streaming. There's someone out there, baby! I suppose. Not really gung-ho about it, but, I did. I'm getting paid $7,000 now. So we did talk about Trump Epstein and connect that to Jewish folks for a minute. Don't leave. You just got here. I gotta leave. I got important things to do. Sleep. Man, I really want to take my son to the zoo tomorrow, but I can't because I have to be here because my computer might be showing up, and then I have a bunch of other shit going on. And so I'm hoping then Tuesday, maybe I can get him to the zoo, but it looks like it's supposed to rain. So I'm in a position where I really, I love going to the zoo with my son. It's my favorite. So we'll see what happens. So, well, be wrapping up here. First off, I just want to thank my friend Avarice, should have this computer tomorrow, my editor Black Elk, all of my wonderful moderators who do a tremendous job. Thank you so much to everyone who donated money tonight, particularly Coric, Wade Boggs, and Blasterbot. You guys are the best. Thank you to everyone who chatted, and everyone else who donated, and everyone who gave a thumbs up, and everyone who subbed. I appreciate you all. We're going to raid over to the Whatever podcast. I'm sure they're having a debate about culture as we speak, so it should be interesting. So take a moment as we end the stream tonight. I know we've been having some fun today, but there's still riots going on tonight, or an insurrection, if you want to call it, in Newark. Turning Point USA the other day tried to have an event that was attacked by violent lefties. It'll never end. That's the consequences we're up against. Take a moment and think about the life of Charlie Kirk, how he was assassinated, how they left cheered for his death, how even institutions that weren't doing that were smearing him as a fascist within hours of his death. Never forget what the stakes are. So please, say a prayer for Charlie and his family. And remember why it's important to keep fighting. We'll talk to you all soon. We'll see you tomorrow. I think I'll be doing the extravaganza at 5:30. As always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.